get everybody up to speed right from the beginning. You spent 25 years undercover working for the FBI in the Klan, Nazi organizations, and biker gangs.
And then some, yes, sir.
What a crazy life that is. First of all, how did you first get started doing that?
Good question. I grew up in South Carolina, played ball, all that stuff. I was always kind of if you look back, not trying to be cocky, whatever, because that's not it. You've had plenty of people on the show that are complete badasses. But I was kind of a bully of bullies. I always looked out, I liked the underdog. I bounced in college, so I was already learning that gift of gab and fight techniques and stuff like that. And then I became a cop because when I was in college, I took a course. I'm taking electives. I went to college so I'd have 4 more years to figure out what I was going to do because I didn't know what I was doing.
Me
Except
too.
Partying. Except,
I did 3 years.
I was good at partying. But I hit an elective that was criminal justice, and man, I really liked it. Psychology was always a strong thing for me, but it took a back seat, and I ended up coming out with a major in criminal justice and a minor in psychology. But during those criminal justice courses, I was like, at first, for a fleeting moment, I said, I'm going to be an attorney. Yeah, I'll be an attorney. And then I realized I'd be a terrible attorney. I said, because if I was the defense attorney and they said they did it, I would probably just walk up and go, they did it, right? That's not going to get me any clients. And if I was the prosecutor, I pictured me being like Sam Kinison, grabbing them and going, say it, you did it. So I'm like, yeah, that's probably not the best role for me. And I did it right along with cops and the department, and that was it. But once I got into law enforcement, I was uniform patrol for 3 years. I was just so fascinated with undercover. I don't know what it was. I can't really remember doing the book. I've tried to dive back in. People ask. I don't really remember. I just know that I loved undercover movies, period. If it was a biker undercover, I don't care how cheesy it was. I love them all. Mm-hmm. And then one of my mentors at the sheriff's office, he was actually the world's strongest man in the late 80s, after Kazmaier.
Oh, wow.
He was a former Marine and big dude. And he, as a task force, had gone undercover in some biker gangs. And man, I wanted to be a biker. I grew up on motorcycles and then just started taking off from there.
You got to think that biker gangs are probably super suspicious of people being undercover because it's such a theme.
You
It's
think?
been around.
Yeah.
It's been around forever. The stories of guys infiltrating biker gangs. It's been around forever.
40 plus years right now. Easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did they first
there's
start doing
books
it?
made. There's books made. They go to court. They
Right.
learn.
Yeah. So it was right after the Vietnam War, right? That's when all the biker gangs really
Believe so.
started
I think
kicking
it goes
off.
back to my history's bad, but I think it goes back to World War at least 2, right?
Really?
Because the way it goes, everybody always asks what a 1% it is. And it goes back, I think it's 1947, but it goes back to when your veterans are getting out. They have nothing, they had no decompression back then. They had no plans or programs for them. And they've been out here living this raucous, rowdy life. And now they're back in the States, and now they're supposed to just flip and be like, So they started creating these clubs, and they were doing some raucous and rowdy stuff. And then it was the president of the American Motorcycle Association that came out and made this statement that said something to the effect of, listen, 99% of all motorcycle riders are good, law-abiding citizens. There's only 1% that's bad. And they took that as a badge of honor and said, we're 1%.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Cool stuff. So who was the first person to infiltrate them? Do you know the history of that?
No, I don't.
But it's been going on forever. As soon as they found out, it's like it's been the case with the mob. It's been the case with everything.
Sure.
Johnny Brasco.
Yep. My mentor, one of my.
Really?
Yeah. Joe Pistola? Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
He helped certify me. I saw him probably within the last 6 months or so. He graciously did a blurb on the book too.
Oh, wow.
I call him boss man,
So do you remember your first undercover assignment?
Yes, yeah.
What'd you have to do?
It was at the sheriff's office. So after 3 years of uniform, I make it to narcotics investigator. Well, it's a tough crowd, but we're funny, but it's just like a good military group or anything else. There's going to be a lot of ribbing and stuff like that. So they said, hey, you're going to go buy some dope tonight. My first time. Now, granted, I bought weed and stuff in high school and I was around those groups, but I never bought crack cocaine. I was already probably 6'4", I probably about 270 pounds. I did not look like I smoked crack, unless I just fell off the wagon.
Just real recent.
Or I just started, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm the vegan that shows up still smelling like beef, you know? I just stopped. But they told me that, hey, it's real easy. You're just going to roll down to this corner. It's a known drug trafficking area. You're going to roll down there, white boy, you're going to roll down the window. They're going to come up to you and say, what do you want? And back then it was a 20. You just get a rock, $20 for a rock. And say, all you got to do is hold that 20 and say, you just want a 20. Joe, I drove down there. I know I was scared because I was out of my comfort zone. But I was also scared to make a fool of myself in front of the narcotics guys and gals that were training me. And I roll down the street and I pull up and they come running up to the window. What you want? What you want? I crack the window. I crack it about this far and I stick a 20 like I'm trying to go to a vending machine. I'm like, I want a 20, you know? And the dude's like, he takes the 20, but he can't hand me the crack rock back through the cracked window. He's like, roll the damn window down. And I'm like, my bad. It's probably like a sliver or so, who knows? But that was my first drug buy. First undercover, like legit.
And so what was the protocol? Like you had to buy the drug and then what do you do?
It depends, case by case basis. We may want to make numerous buys on that corner, try to come in with the jump out boys, they used to call them, and shut that corner down for a while. We may be trying to make buys on the low level people on the corner selling, who are probably most likely users, at least with my experience. So maybe like every 5 crack rocks they sold, they can peel one for themselves. And maybe we want to get them, build a case on them, kind of try to climb it up.
And then find out who's the distributor.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Visible. Is your wireless full of stuff you didn't sign up for, you don't need, or don't understand? Visible gives you everything you want from wireless with nothing you don't. No confusing plans, no hidden fees, no nonsense. With Visible, you get unlimited data, talk, and text powered by Verizon's 5G network, plus unlimited hotspots included. Plus, they're an all-digital wireless service, so you can easily switch within a matter of minutes from your phone, either in their app or online. Ready to switch? Get the Visible plan. One line with unlimited wireless for just $25 a month. Every month, taxes and fees included, so you know exactly what you're paying every single month. Don't think wireless could be more transparent? So Visible? Well, now you know. Switch today at visible.com/Rogan. Terms apply. See visible.com for plan features and network management details.
And that was like the state and local. You hit it. Everybody's a little different, but 3 buys, hit them with a search warrant kind of thing, something like that.
And ultimately, so when you're doing this, you're buying, you're trying to develop some sort of a relationship or an understanding of how this thing goes down. How do you get to who's selling it to them? Do you have to arrest them first?
You can, or you can do. There's all kinds of ways, but you can do like a wall off. In other words, not let everybody see us pick you off. You know, so you don't get burned. Bring you in, talk to you. This is what we got on you. We're trying to figure out who it is, and it's just traditional law enforcement. You're trying to find more intel and work your way up.
And you offer them like immunity or something like that?
Depends. Some people do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Really?
Yeah. It's rare, but I mean, you can do it. Hey, I'm patriotic. I want to help clean this up. These people are trying to sell me dope. I don't like them. I can go buy it for you. A lot of times we're paying a source, or they could be working off the charge. It could be part of their plea agreement.
So this is your first one. You get comfortable doing that, and then how often are you doing this?
I don't know. I mean, we could come in, let's just say there's 6 investigators on Northern or Southern Command Narcotics in Greenville County. You might be one of my partners, and we come in and you go, hey, I got a source. He's going to go make a buy tonight. You might hop in the car with him. It just happens. It's almost a daily thing.
And so you develop your skills doing this. You get real good at being undercover. And then how do you move on to the big boys? How do you move on to biker gangs, Nazis?
I got hired by the FBI.
And was it specifically because you were good at undercover shit, or no?
You see a picture of me. I had to. This is me, but for the academy, I mean, it's a cheesy, thin, fuzzy mustache. Can't go past the crease of your lip, a high and tight. You go get your haircut at the PX in Quantico. It was usually foreign ladies that were cutting your hair. It doesn't matter how I'd explained what I wanted, I got the same haircut every time. You take it up a little bit here and not so much here, like, oh yeah, yeah. You're like, all right, there you go.
This is what we're doing.
But one thing I noticed at the state level was we would all go back then, the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy is in Columbia, South Carolina. So we would go there and get certified. But in your county, I mean, how many ways can I shape? I'm in the same county, and you're going out here making buys. How many times can I change my car, change my outfit, change my facial hair, the hair on my head, until everybody starts knowing I'm a narc?
Right.
You know, because when you're in that local environment, and I mean, I'm talking Greenville, South Carolina, Miami might be a little bit different, or New York City, but you're going to court a lot, and people are seeing you in court, and then, so how do you roll out there? So a lot of it turns into just running sources. To me, I believe developing and running sources is hand in hand with undercover, because other than them not being a bonded law enforcement officer, and I don't have a felon on my record, but they do, they're still the ones we're wiring up and going in to get the evidence. So a lot of it over the last many years with the defund the police and the black eye, it's hard to recruit. It's hard enough to get people to fill the uniform slots, so you really don't have anybody doing undercover. Most of your smaller departments that I've talked to or learned from is they're just running sources.
Really? So this all stopped during defund the police, like the
A
George
lot.
Floyd times?
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, the pendulum swings, right? Or it could be that because generations are different these days, people come to apply and they've got felons on their record, and we're like, bro, you can't be a cop. You got a felon on your record, you know. But I remember thinking, wouldn't it be kind of cool if South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy had all of the certified undercovers in some type of database where it says, hey, Scott's skill set is biker, you know, riding motorcycles, can go in a biker bar or whatever, strip clubs, this, that, and the other. Maybe Charleston County needs somebody. Wouldn't that be cool if I could just shoot down there and make buys for Charleston County, but go back, and that way nobody knows me in Charleston County.
Right.
And when I got in the FBI, that's kind of what they do. You get certified in the FBI, and you go around the world.
So what was your initial job in the FBI?
You are a case agent. When you get hired, the only responsibility you have, really, is you're a case agent. And that means you investigate, you do your own cases. I did that the entire career. Even when I was doing undercover, I was still a case agent. But I went through the academy. I got New York City as my first office, and New York is the largest office, so they put you kind of like on a rotation. You don't just go straight to a squad. You're going to be like, they want you to learn the city. They want you to learn the ins and outs of having a placard and the bus lane and all that stuff. Or just how to figure out how to get into the damn Lincoln Tunnel when 6 lanes go like that, you know. But eventually I went to the rotation and I got placed on the Colombian Drug Squad. So there, then people start learning you were a certified undercover at the state level and this, that, and the other. So then there might be something like, say, LA takes off a 3,000, and we're talking like 2001-ish, 2000, somewhere in there. So they take off, say, 3,000 pounds of weed in LA, and it was supposed to come to New York. Well, we go with them and say, man, can you send us all the stuff? They're cutting leads to us saying, hey, you're supposed to go to this address, but we got to build the exact replica box. And it depends on the U.S. attorney working the case. They may want assistant United States attorney. They may want to just us deliver it, and that's good enough. Some may want us to deliver it, pull away, and then they've got a hidden switch or something that notifies us when they open it, just to make that case tighter. So I started doing cameos on stuff like that, and then I landed in undercover, which I don't really talk about in the book because it's classified. And we are coming up on 25 years, which is usually when they declassify them. It's kind of been outed, but I just don't talk about it because I don't want to end up in the box, the lie detector, and have somebody beating me down. But I landed that undercover, and after about 30 days in San Antonio, they gave me another 60-day extension, and I became the primary. And because I was there full-time working undercover, they transferred me to the San Antonio division.
So the first undercover gig, what was your job? Like what were you pretending to do?
The classified one, again, is classified.
Okay.
But I will say this: I was a security guard. Can you imagine being a cop with a cool uniform, with a real gun on your hip. And now I'm making it to the FBI. And I'm working third shift as night at the museum, you know, with a flashlight.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to get my foot in the door of the undercover program, and sometimes it was easier to get a slot in the undercover school if you were already in or slated for an undercover.
And so you eventually work your way up to probably more and more dangerous and complicated assignments.
What happens, at least in my experience, what happened with me is I get certified. Our certification school is very, very intense. I mean, I don't know what they're doing now, but I'm 99.9% sure it's still very intense. It's 2 weeks, no days off, huge on sleep deprivation. Not going to give away all the scenarios and stuff for tradecraft reasons, but let's just say that I got certified in 2002. In 2003, I started role-playing an assistant at the school. I probably missed a handful of schools up until the day I retired. Never 100% graduation rate. I don't know of any 100% graduation rate before I got into the program. And it's not hazing. You get 20 slots. So it's 4 groups of 5. And generally it goes like you get some trainings during the day, and then we're running scenarios and we're putting you into live stuff. But at day 3 and 4, when you're really hurting for sleep, I've seen people nut out. And minor insight, I didn't think I would see that, because some of them I might know. Maybe we were on the SWAT team together. Maybe I know you as a case agent, and you're squared away. But you go to the UC school, and after about 3 days of no sleep and not getting your normal meals on your normal times, not getting your workout in, one of my buddies walked in. He looked like he'd been raped by a tribe. He walked in, hair disheveled, buttons not lined up, zipper undone.
Kills himself is how that ends. And then at the end, there's like a concert happening, and they just put the word unlearn across the screen. And you can just hear black people in the audience go, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yo, let's go." Like, let's go. And she was like, "What?" And I was like, no, let's go. Like, do not let these credits start. Let's get in the car. And I mean, I don't know how bad it got out there, but it was a lot of yelling. It was an inflammatory movie.
Wow.
There's no point in a movie where a white person got their due. It was always like a white person fucks over black people, and then the cops are like,
Wow.
"You're fine."
Jeez.
Hey, shit happens, man.
You could make a movie like that before the internet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because there wouldn't be a million signature proof that this shouldn't be a thing or whatever.
Well, it's also preposterous. Like, patently preposterous.
Just to argue it.
Well, if you're pretending there's a white power group on a college campus, how about ever? Is ever? Like, this is crazy. Like, you found the one, that's what you should study. The one college that has a white power group in it. And like, openly.
Openly.
What?
Walking around, tattoos out.
And all the cops are openly racist. Like, not just like there's a racist cop, just like there's a racist fucking postman. You know, There's racist everything. There's a racist dentist out there somewhere.
Yeah, but no, they make it like that at the today's meetings. Like, all right, let's round up some blacks, make sure these whites are okay.
So crazy. So crazy. You could make a movie like that.
I think you still be that kind of inflammatory. They go for it. I just watched that Adolescence thing, which I thought was
Adolescence.
It's this it's a 4-part like mini series on Netflix. It's British. I watch things so open-minded and just looking to be entertained that I miss messages a lot. By the 3rd episode, I realized it's about a little boy gets immediately accused of, that's how it starts, of killing a classmate, and he's getting arrested. Each episode is one shot to make it like a play, and the acting is unbelievable. But what it whittles down to, it's apparently like from the videos I watched beyond, like this show Explained, because I look at all those, and it was like an toxic masculinity message. And the idea was just like the kids watched porn and his dad's a tough guy, so that's why he thought he can kill a woman or why he can kill a girl. And they shout out and again, I don't know a lot of this guy's stuff other than the basic idea, but they shout out Andrew Tate in it. When I heard that name, I was like, oh, that's what this is.
But here's the thing, that could be a real guy. Like, that's less preposterous than the white power group on campus.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
no
kids
doubt.
that get radicalized. They get an evil parent who,
But they didn't really make it that was evil. They were making it more like the porn and like the idea that like
Well, that too.
Mom should be in line and cooking.
There's guys who grow up without a mom. Those guys can definitely, if they have a shitty dad and no mom, those guys can definitely be. And if you have a psycho in your DNA.
I had too much mom.
No, you didn't. No, you had the perfect amount to make you. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Black Rifle Coffee. That's all I drink, folks. If you see me drinking coffee in the studio, it's Black Rifle Coffee. It's because my friend Evan Hafer, who owns the company, I love him to death, and they make the best coffee in the world. They put together the best energy drink in America, made with 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine, low calories, and absolutely zero sugar. It's available in 4 new delicious flavors: Project Mango, Ranger Berry, Freedom Punch, and White Frost. Veteran founded and veteran-led. Each Black Rifle Coffee purchase you make helps them give back to those who serve our nation. Shop now at blackriflecoffee.com/Joe Rogan with the code Rogan for 30% off, or visit your local grocery and convenience stores. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee.
I had my little dad, lots of mom, just tendencies when I was. My step-pop, man, he swooped in and saved my ass from really being as twirly as possible without being into cocks. I mean,
That's
I was right there
hilarious.
primed for the take, and I'm sitting there laying on my tummy as a kid watching Falcon Crest in Dallas with my mom.
Oh my God!
That's what I know
can see it.
Lorenzo Lamas from.
I can
Falcon
see it.
Crest, not Renegade like everybody else.
Was Renegade the one where he was the karate guy?
He was the karate guy, but he was sent. He was a bounty hunter
That's right.
on a motorcycle.
But wasn't he like a karate guy too?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not making that up.
Well, no, he would fight his fights with karate.
That guy was
But Steven,
so beautiful,
he was gorgeous.
so handsome.
I know, it really is the sadness of a guy that handsome, because he got a girl that was smoking hot, and then, what's it, Shauna Sand?
Look at him.
Yeah.
Look
He
at
married,
that
I think he
hair.
married Shauna Sand, who was like a Playboy girl. And then they break up, and she gets crazy surgery. She looks like a lunatic. Starts doing porn.
Oh no.
And he still looks pretty great.
He's had a ton of fucking series, those weird series that you like flip through in the middle of the night like he's a motorcycle detective or something. You know, it's like there's a bunch of those. How many series? He's one of those guys that like always has a series.
I mean, the alliteration of the name, he was handsome. It was all kind of perfect.
Yeah. Does he have
It's a
the
hell
hair
of a
anymore?
career.
Does he keep the long hair?
No, there's no way.
Because he still rock it like Fabio still rocks it. He's not letting go.
Damn.
Respect. No, see, he got short hair. Look at him. Even older with white hair, handsome as fuck.
I mean, comparatively too, if you look at the ex that was like his holy shit wife,
She fell apart.
they all fall apart.
That surgery is a crazy way to go because you can't see what you look like. It's like anorexics or bodybuilders. You get dysmorphia. Your brain starts playing tricks on you, and you think your lips aren't big enough, or your tits aren't big enough, and your face is, you know, like there's some skin on the side of your ear. You should pull it back and tuck this, pull that. And
Sure.
my ass would stick out more if they put the implants in, and that would probably get me a better guy.
I get a fat ass. I always say it.
Would
I
you?
crowdsource it. If the audience will pay for it, I'll get a fat ass.
Let's find out what they do, because I'm bewildered. So I know that there's an operation where they take fat out of other parts of your body and they stuff it in your ass, and your ass looks like a bag of cheese, which is.
There's bad
I
ones.
mean, maybe there's good ones. Maybe I'm being judgmental. There's probably a doctor out there. Hey, I do it under the surface of the fat, so
I know,
there's
there is
always
those.
a smooth area on top. Some wizard with a BMW.
But at this
How
point,
do
there
they do
are
it?
good breast implants. At this point, there are. They exist.
Yes, they feel real.
But
here's-
also, they look real, and they don't have like where you have like you see rib cage between them.
Yes, but here's the thing. You are putting something that's similar to breast tissue where breast tissue would be. So with this, your butt is a muscle.
Yeah.
You know, it's like muscle and fat. A male. Why'd you say male, Jamie? How dare you? Can expect to retain anywhere from 60 to 80% of the fat that is initially transferred into the butt. I like when they say butt like that. I really think they're, professional. Fucking, you talking about surgery?
Into the glutes?
You're calling butt surgery?
Yeah.
What kind of a fucking doctor? Let me see your diploma.
Now you're gonna want to be gentle when you take a shit for the next 3 weeks.
The rest will be reabsorbed by the body over time. The results you see immediately after surgery and in the weeks following are not permanent. Around 90 days post-op, your butt will finally stabilize into its new shape and size. The procedure itself is semi-permanent as opposed to permanent. As your body responds to natural aging process and normal weight fluctuations, so too will your buttocks. Depending on the precautions you take during your recovery and the lifespan you maintain in the time following, your BBL may last several years to even decades. I saw a dude at the mall the other day with a BBL.
For sure.
100%. No way it's real.
Gay?
Yeah. Super. How dare you ask that? Imagine if it wasn't a gay guy. Imagine straight guys start getting BBLs.
It has to exist.
Has to.
There's
Has
definitely
to.
a guy.
It's probably a whole website dedicated to like normalizing straight guy BBLs. Daddy makeover. Just lift weights, you fucking pussy.
Yeah, I mean,
Just go to the gym and do the work.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth and stop it with your BBL.
unless, and I'll put it out there again, unless the crowd pays for it, I will get a fat ass.
Here's the thing. I think there's other ways to do it. And this was my question, because I know there's an implant as well.
Yeah.
So there's butt implants, which is kind of even crazier, because then you're taking the risk of having something, a foreign object in your ass, where everyone's scared to get cancer. Like if you're scared to get cancer, what's the place where you're scared to get the cancer the most? Ass cancer. You don't have to shit in a bag, you know? So
Yeah.
like you're thinking about these plastic things that you've inserted into the muscle tissue surrounding your, what kind of inflammation is going to be caused by that? What about the plastic leaching into your body as you're in the sauna? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. You know, I can't believe they still haven't perfected dick surgery, dick lengthening or thickening surgery. But what's crazy is there are procedures and people get them.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine getting a procedure that's been done like under
30
1,000 times. Yeah.
But here's the thing, man.
You don't want to be the first. You didn't want to be the first tonsillectomy, and that's like routine.
Isn't it kind of shocking that no one's figured out a way to make a bigger dick? It's kind of shocking.
It is shocking. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
surprised
look,
that hasn't been a thing.
There's the butt enlargement. Intramuscular buttock implants. So now when they say buttock, I feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like these are real pros. So you're going to take those plastic, what are those things made out of, Jamie? Let's find out how
I'm gonna tell you
toxic
what,
they
those
are.
ones are dirty.
They pulled them out of a butt.
Oh, they took
The
them
guy-
out.
He's a detransitioner. Okay, so what does it say? Butt augmentation is most commonly performed by fat injections, While men can do like women's synthetic, synthetic synthetic fillers, oh boy, and fat injections, they often are less tolerant to the procedures that require multiple treatments and whose effects are more modest. Interesting. They're often smaller and flatter buttocks are more resistant to augmentation efforts with stronger intergluteal muscles and a thinner subcutaneous fat layer. So he's saying, I can do it to dudes, but it's not going to come out good.
Isn't it crazy that the only real end game of this is like, what's the benefit in your life?
More dick.
But it's like money. It's like ultimately it's like finding someone who's gonna like your weird body more.
You think it's money for dudes?
It's like, oh, for dudes.
Yeah, these are dudes. That's a dude.
Oh,
with
then it's
buttocks.
just gay, probably.
Gay as fuck.
Or
that
maybe
I
the
saw
guy
at the
was also
mall-
crowdsourced and maybe they paid for it.
Maybe it's just, yeah. Solid ultra soft silicone buttock implants of 400 cc were placed in a layered muscle and incision closure done. No drains were used. His long-term results showed good improvement. Scroll up, please. In his buttock size and shape.
Hell
It was
yeah.
even probably better in that regard than I thought could occur. Ew. It looks fake. Like there's a lump. There's a lump where you have a tumor in your ass, sir. Like, look, there's like a little ridge where all of a sudden the implant is. That's so weird that I'm staring at this guy's butt. So
I just
long.
don't think it's the same guy.
This is the same guy. I trust these people.
Why would the internet
They're
lie?
buttock people.
Why would the internet lie?
They wouldn't lie.
But the penis surgeries are like nutty thing, from like cutting a tendon.
Yeah, to make it just poke out a little more. And then there's other ones where they thicken it up. They
It's-
get in there with a mesh and thicken it up. It's
I
a
went-
nice sauce.
When I was heavier, even I got a consultation, free consultation at a plastic surgeon. I was like, I bet if I'm fine with my hard dick, but I hate my soft hang sometimes. And I was like, I bet if I got my gun sucked out, liposuction, it'll make it
You dick one, bro.
it'll make it look bigger, soft, particularly. And I'm like, so I went to the consultation. It was a male doctor, so you're like, okay. And he gets you. I mean, I knew he was going to have to look ultimately at one point, but this guy takes me in a mirror. He goes, all right, drop your pants. I drop my pants, and I also have Dr. Dick. You know, like it's like I'm also a guy, so I'm like, shit. And you can't like, I didn't want to try to like
Fluff it up.
Yeah, fluff it before he walks
Put a
in. It's
rubber
weird
band
too.
around your balls.
So he fucking comes in and he's like, drop your pants. He goes, walk over to this mirror. I'm like, oh God, don't make me do this. And I stand in front of the mirror, and he goes on either side of my dick with his hands, and he goes, right now it looks like this, and I can make it look. And he just pushes my fat back and goes, like this. And I was like,
His dick is just inches from your face.
I was like,
the whole time.
and then I pulled my pants up like a victim and left the office and never even thought about it again. That was crazy.
That's a weird look.
Yeah, he was like,
Just
here,
getting in there.
and then here.
I'm gonna move my face 6 inches from your dick, but don't worry.
Yeah,
I went to school.
a doctor looking up at you.
I have
Do you
a
like that?
diploma. You see the framed diploma? This is fine. This is fine.
This is a safe space.
This is. What does your dick taste like? I wonder.
Oh man, there's no way he doesn't go out and talk to those hot-ass nurses about my little wiener.
Yeah, definitely. The littlest dick. Oh my God, it smelled like cheese.
I don't know. At this point, they expose so many people. Do you believe anybody's genuine goodness anymore?
It's hard to believe. You know, I went down a deep dive looking at doctors who use their own sperm in fertility clinics.
Yeah.
I was researching this one case. I was just, I just wanted to find out, like, God, how'd they catch him? What happened? Then I found there's like hundreds of cases.
Oh, it's got it.
There's hundreds of cases. There's hundreds of cases of doctors doing this. There's doctors using their own sperm, and then people finding out on 23andMe because it's like fucking everybody in the neighborhood's related.
It's
Like,
just their
what-
kink, just to like jerk off in the vials.
It's just such a crazy thing. There's so many fucking psychos out there.
What
I
a
had
weird
this
thing to
guy on
giggle at while
yesterday.
you're injecting a girl with your jizz. And
I had this guy on yesterday that spent 25 years as an undercover FBI guy that infiltrated biker gangs and neo-Nazis and bro. Like, you talk to a guy like that, you start really wondering, where's the good in the world? Like, how many creeps are there? Like, how many really fucking psychotic people are out there organizing right now in the world?
that's a wild thing to go with, like different groups undercover though too. Like, if they ever overlap someday, like, and you go, hey, you were a skinhead 2 months ago. When'd you become a biker?
Yeah, exactly. And this guy is, look at him. I'll show you a picture of him. Just a big fucking giant dude
Yeah.
with a goatee and pulled back hair and tattoos all over his arms. So he like blended right in with all these psychos.
Thank God. I used to have when I was young, I had a joke about the concept of like with the hookers, where you have to, they go, well, if you ask them if they're a cop, they'll tell you, they have to tell you, or it's entrapment. And I was like, then what the fuck is undercover work? You guys are doing like 5 years with the mob, and then one day they go, hey, I never even asked you. This is stupid, but are you a cop? Like, shit, man, yeah.
I think that was like
You were at my kid's christening. I know, man. You never asked. I swore at this point I thought you were never going to ask.
I think that was like a dumb thing they made up for TV shows. And then everybody thought it was real. It was
Yeah.
like some dumb plot point.
Are you a cop? No. Yeah, of course you could say no.
Right, because the good guy who's the cop always had to be honest.
Yeah.
He was never lie. This guy, he was telling me about he had to do cocaine with these people. They had to beat people up. And he's like, if shit went down, man, I had to be a part of it.
The prostitutes things they would do on cops were always, they'd get in the car and they'd be like, are you a cop? And you go, come on, do I look like a cop?
Bro, this guy got busted wearing a wire and got away with it.
Really?
They didn't find the wire.
No shit.
They came that close. He said they were inches away. They were rubbing his clothes, like checking all his clothes. He said they were inches away, but he was like arguing with them. I can't fucking believe you guys, like that kind of shit.
After I mysteriously showed up 3 weeks ago, and now I'm working my way through the ranks. Now you're gonna start patting me down. All right.
And I'm helping you run guns and drugs to Mexico.
Guys, I
Come
bought
on,
donuts
guys.
yesterday morning. I'm that guy.
I'm that guy. I am your brother.
I'm the dude.
And meanwhile, they all go to jail eventually.
Do you
From
have to,
him.
like,
They were
also,
right.
also when they do undercover, it still seems like like when they would go home at night still, come out of their biker clothes. How was it, hon? Like, These guys are animals. I hope one of them didn't happen to follow me home.
Well, he was not doing things that were anywhere near his home. That's the
okay.
thing. He would go away for long stretches at a time and go back and forth, and he had all these reasons for doing so, different businesses that he did, that he was involved with.
Did he ever like find himself? You kind of like hang with somebody that much time, and they think you're their friend. Do they ever get like sympathy for them?
Oh
ever?
yeah, definitely. That's one of the more fascinating parts about it. It was like this guy that he had to put in jail. He's like, that guy was like my friend. He's like, we finished each other's sentences. We were just like each other, other than the fact that he was a criminal and I was an FBI agent. And I was like, do you think that you could have gone down that road if you had the wrong life? He's like, abso-fucking-lutely, man. Abso-fucking-lutely.
No shit.
Because all of us could have. I go, that's what I think too. I think.
That's what happened to Michael Rappaport in Higher Learning.
He got in with the wrong crowd. He was a regular guy with good intentions. The next thing you know, he's shooting women. Super normal in a 90-minute arc of a film.
It was so much, so fast. It
How
was
does
literally.
unless he's the star of the film where they follow him every step of the way.
It was like Clockwork Orange for black people. They put like
boy.
it's like for 90 minutes you just yeah.
Michael Rappaport as this kid is hilarious.
You got to see when it's when the cops have him at the end and they're like, son, everything's gonna be fine. You're white.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Rappaport does a really good job of complaining about things. Like he's always got something that he's fucking screaming and yelling.
Pretty
about.
hyped about Israel, it seems.
It seems like it, yeah.
I've only seen him hyped about two things: Israel and Ari. Those are the only two things I've ever hyped Michael Rappaport. And also, I think the rising of the black race also, I think, pissed him off the scenes in that scene.
In that scene, but to his credit, that was the 90s.
Yeah.
Nobody knew better back then.
Well, that's so funny for him also. If you remember his first big role, great movie called Zebrahead.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, because that was more of his thing. He's more of like a
He was in
like
Do
a
the Right
Wigger
Thing,
kid.
too, right? Was he in Do the Right Thing?
I don't know if he was in that. True Romance, for sure. That was great.
When it comes to college basketball and March Mania, one thing is for sure, nothing's for sure. Upsets, buzzer beaters, Cinderella's advancing, top seeds going home early. It's all gonna happen. Bet the unexpected, every upset, every day with DraftKings Sportsbook. With live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays, DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. First time? Here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code.
He sees it and he's like, hey, where the F are you from? So I fire some stupid comedy thing back. We start going back and forth because he's already asked the bartenders, who the hell's that guy? Oh, that's Tex. He comes up here all the time from Texas. It's human nature. It's like, you caught a fish this big, by the 10th person you're telling, and there was like 10 of them.
Right.
I had to fight them off with my pinkies. But I get called over. I don't know who sent a drink to who first, but he calls me over and just starts shooting the shit with me. And from then, he pretty much invites me to one of their Northeast regionals called Lobster Fest, held in Brockton at that clubhouse. And we were kind of on the way. There was a guy who was not patched, and his name was Scott as well. I said the name of the book. It's all adjudicated. It's all in the court proceedings and stuff. But Scott Town was his name, and he was a big dude. He was jacked, and he came in. I remember going to the bathroom, and again, I think I'm doing pretty good. Like I'm in great shape. I'm being me. I'm talking, shooting the shit, not hanging out too much. I walk back over, play a little, you come chase me kind of thing. So I go to the bathroom and nobody's in there. And for the listeners that don't know men's bathrooms in bars, usually at the urinal, there's some kind of box, plexiglass with some kind of ads like, hey, this person's coming next week, that stuff. So as I'm peeing, I'm looking at the reflection and I see the door swing open and I see this jack dude, Scott. It must have made an impression because in the report I even say he's wearing like a gray shirt with black trim. He's completely sleeved out, and I'm getting all this from, sleeved out on the left arm, huge earrings. And I watch him, and I see him kind of ducking and looking under stalls and hitting the doors to make sure nobody else is in the bathroom. I'm acting nonchalant, but then I see him walk up to me, and for that split second, I thought, I'm getting jacked. I'm gonna get jumped right here. But he ends up just asking me, what brings you to Massachusetts? I think what happened is they sent him in there to press me. And this is a good lesson, don't bluff. If you bluff, whatever you say today, you might be still in that case a year and a half, 2 years later. It needs to match what you said on day one, or you could be slipping up and getting found out. But I said where I'd been around, McAllen, grew up in South Carolina, all this stuff. He's been to all those places because he used to travel the country fighting dogs. So if I'd have been bluffing, I'd have been done right there. And then from there, we start building relationships. Now I'm trying to ingratiate, and I'm getting invited to parties. My story was that I was a site survey specialist, and I traveled the country for investors out of Texas. And I would look at properties that they want to buy, whether it's residential or mercantile, and pull stuff from the clerk of court and all that kind of stuff. But as it usually does in the criminal world, it came out that I also did some crimes myself, and that's when we started getting into. They were doing insurance fraud first with me. They would report vehicles stolen and then sell them to me for a stolen price. And the story was, since I was based out of McAllen, Texas, I was just using the facts that we were moving vehicles to Mexico in trade for whatever, guns, most likely dope, but whatever. And that's how we started. And then from there, now you start gaining more trust. You start hanging out more. You become tighter. You're building these relationships. And then it's like, hey, we just carjacked somebody. We got this car. We took this dude at gunpoint. This thing's got LoJack or OnStar or whatever was around then. We know how to get rid of it. Don't worry about it. I got it. Have a truck driver show up. We load all the stolen equipment, vehicles, whatever, on the truck, and they thought they were going to Mexico, but they were just going to a warehouse somewhere in Massachusetts.
So you never actually brought cars to Mexico?
No.
So when you would do that, we just get cash from the FBI to represent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would pay them, yeah, a stolen price. Stolen's usually 20 to 25% of what it would normally cost, because it's hot. And that just started gaining trust. I mean, like I said, there was other undercovers that would help. We call those cameos. If you're the primary undercover, that's you. That's your case. A secondary undercover might mean you come in to meet me, but you stay with me for a couple of days and we go out and meet bad guys together. That's going to be a secondary role. If you're coming in as a truck driver, you're just pulling the parking lot, we're loading up stuff, that's a cameo. And I've done many cameos for other undercovers as well. Just roll into town, do a deal, whatever.
So no one's ever trying to go with you to Mexico to make sure that all this is happening?
Not on that case, but if they did want to, we would have to work that out. We would have to have that kind of, because I took this from a buddy of mine who I helped certify as an undercover, and I just thought it was a great way to say it. It's, look, at the end of the day, we want that target going to bed thinking, that was a good day. You don't want them laying in bed going, man, there's something wasn't right about that guy.
Right.
Something's not right, because you want it to be as real as possible.
Right.
So was it a fact that the cartels at that point in time loved 4x4 V8s and Harley Davidsons? Absolutely. Did they get stolen all the time on the border? Absolutely. So that's factual stuff that's real. So now I'm a guy, they eventually learned and believed that I was a high-ranking member of an international theft ring. And that's what we were doing. And then through those, then they start stealing vehicles, which I got to be careful of. I can't say, hey, I want a brand new F-350 quad cab, because then they go steal it. That's somewhat of entrapment. I just led them to go steal that car, right? But over the next year or so, we're getting more and more stuff. I buy dope from them. Like I said, carjackings. We learned certain members extorting people, like the good old mafia days, extorting businesses, home invasions. But again, for the listeners listening, to hear that at a bar and say, yeah, we robbed that house, is that enough to charge somebody? Probably not. Is an assistant United States attorney going to be like, yeah, that's enough? No, we're going to have to dive in more and find out and vet it out and get that evidence.
Wow. Stressful shit.
Slightly.
Get stressed out just thinking about you doing all these things.
Me too.
So how how long is this relationship while you're building the case? Like how much time are you spending with these people?
For that case, I was probably up there every 3 weeks for a good week, but then it's constant contact when I'm not there.
Text messages.
Yeah, Nextels were big with them at that point in time. So yeah, chirps.
Oh, the
Chirps, yeah.
the old days, the walkie-talkie ones.
Radio, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
those
like,
were funny. People forgot about them
yeah,
walkie-talkies.
yeah, man. It was crazy about that. 'Cause you could key up and talk to somebody in Japan, and it'd be Chris or Clear, but if you tried to call somebody, it was the worst connection ever.
Yeah, they were terrible
Yeah,
phones.
but that's what they used, and that's what I got. I was mirroring them. But yeah, so you build those relationships, and it depends. Each case is different. But I will say that the tightest relationship I had on that case was Scott Town. It was absolutely scary how similar we were, and how tight we were. Now again, he didn't know I was Scott Payne, FBI undercover, but he knew I was Scott Calloway, and he knew. I mean, it would be to the point to where if we were going out to do an op that evening, an operation, they wouldn't put it in the operations plan, but they would ask, "Hey, is Scott Town going to be there tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and even the FBI cover teams and stuff would be like, "Good," because they knew that he cared enough about me. He'd take a bullet for me and protect me, and vice versa, really, as me as Scott Calloway. And I mean, we finished each other's sentences. We thought the same, other than the criminal stuff, and some faith belief systems. But yeah, that was my tightest. And the second one over the 2 years was probably a guy whose road name was Clothesline, and he was the enforcer for the Taunton chapter. And then after that, it probably would have been the president, which was Joe Dogs, and then it just trickled down from there.
Do you have conflicted feelings when you develop like these relationships with these guys?
I did. You can put on as much training, you can get the training, you can be a part of it. I'm still human, you know. Now, was I to a point to where I'm going to go, I'm leaving the FBI and I'm going to become a 1%er?
Some people do though, right?
I know some people do, but I wouldn't there. I wouldn't do that.
How often does that happen?
Well, I don't know. In the FBI, probably not a lot, but those cases are well known. If something happens like that, somebody goes rogue, like, you know, your breach story, and all these people selling secrets and getting people killed. Yeah, I wasn't there, nor would I be. I wouldn't be. I would like to think if I did have a 1% club, nobody would ever infiltrate me.
Well, you probably understand how it works. But even then,
Yeah,
I mean, you're dealing with ragamuffin people. Like,
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know who's
But
real?
those are like, again, those are my kinds of people. When we're riding around and people are wrestling each other over tables, this is my favorite move, bang. I mean, at one point, I'm driving down the road with Scott Town in a snowstorm, and I'm driving, and I'm like this with my hand. He reaches over out of nowhere and breaks my pinky. Just pop, and that sucker's like at 90 degrees, and I'm like, mother. I pulled over, I slammed on the brake, well, snow. Come to a stop, and I go, what the F is your problem? And he's looking at me, he's going, I don't know what he was on, but he was in an evil space, right? And I'm looking at him and I'm going, look, if you want to F and fight, we'll stand out in the damn snowstorm right now and we'll go at it. I know you think you can whip me, but maybe I can whip you. And I saw it wasn't going anywhere, and he was getting more and more angry. And I just looked at him and I went, he's an animal right now. I'm going to diffuse. I'm going to de-escalate, which is really what you should be doing as an undercover. And I look over and I go, hey, after I pop my finger in, I go, hey, sniff, smell, good boy, friend, like that. I'm trying to calm him down. Then he starts laughing. But that's the kind of stuff you get. But to me, it was no different than being in college, playing ball.
Hanging out with psychos.
Yeah, when you're there in the month of August and nobody is there, it's just 24/7 football.
What was it like when you eventually brought that guy down?
It was sad. It was sad because in that case, there was a point where I had a young daughter, and his youngest daughter was roughly the same age as my daughter. So I'm not at home with my kid, but I'm in his house bouncing his daughter on my lap. And you know, when they're developing as a human being, at that stage, they're kind of making the same noises, moving the same way. It was surreal. And then I remember thinking, man, I really like this guy. You know, he likes to drink, I like to drink. He likes to fight, I like to fight. He likes to ride, I like to ride. He likes to live, I like to live. I go, man, we finished each other's sentences. Everything I already said. And then I look over at his refrigerator, and I see all these stickers and magnets and stuff. and my eyes just settled in on WWSD. And for the listeners that don't know, WWJD is very common in the Christ follower Christian community. What would Jesus do? You see the bracelets all the time. And I looked over and said WWSD. What would Satan do? And I looked and I went, oh yeah, we're not the same. We're not. I'm back. We'd be in the clubhouse and everybody's yelling. They're like, again, people that don't know, whatever your biker club name is, you usually get these same sayings. So for the outlaws, it's outlaws forever, forever outlaws. Hell yeah. God forgives, outlaws don't. Yeah. It's better to be first in hell than second in heaven. And I'm like, what? T.
Hang on.
I'm like, I'm not saying I'm a chalk walking Christian because I'm pretending to be a 1%er, evil man, but what story have you ever heard of hell where it was good? I mean, are you helping me out here? So yeah, it's a crazy bunch. But on that case, one of the biggest things that happened is we had been going for a year and a half and doing all these things, that carjack stuff. We're getting more and more evidence. There was a Hell's Angel president murdered in Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Terrible town.
Yeah.
Terrible town.
Is it? I don't.
Oh, Bridgeport's dangerous.
So Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the other Hell's Angel that was shot didn't die, and he was able to give a description of a green truck with Florida plates. We knew at that time that Florida outlaws were up in that area because they were hanging out with our targets. And even when I would call, I'd be like, hey, man, it's hot here right now. If you come out, you need to be strapped. And I'm like, well, I don't want to fly with it. I don't want to put, bullseye on my back then. I'm like, hey, if I show up, man, we'll give you a vest, we'll give you a gun, kind of thing. So we're doing all that. And now we get to the point to where we can, all the predications there, they've done wiretap. The case team has been doing a wiretap. They know that there's drug deals going on. They're doing surveillance. And now we're to the point to where we can introduce that I used to be in the dope game as well. My story was that the reason I got out of it and only did the stolen stuff was because some of my peeps got popped because the heat was getting close. So I pulled shots and I was out. And all I do now is move stolen equipment down because it's a lot less, the way I explained it, it was less likely for law enforcement to catch me. And then they would ask, well, how come a white guy's not cut out by all these Mexicans you're working with? And I go, because I'm the gringo that has the contact at the port of entry and the contacts at the checkpoints to pay them $15 grand to turn their head for 2 minutes and let our stuff go through. And that was really happening on the border, and I knew that because I was on the border working it. Again, real things, you're just putting them into your story. But I now let them know it took a long time. I don't put words in their mouth. But I started laying breadcrumbs over weeks and months that I did used to be in the dope game. And of course, Joe Dogg's the president. I mean, the first time I met him, and he said, where are you from? I said, McAllen, Texas, on the border. His next question was, how much can you get a kilo of cocaine for? And I went, well, if we were needing predication, I think he just gave it. But his business skills weren't that great, because I'd say, look, man, about 13 grand is what you could get a kilo for then on the border. He said, man, so if I got 10 of them up here for 13, I'm like, no, that's not going to cost 13 up here. There's a reason the kilo costs 25 to 30 grand up here, because somebody has to get it from the border to here. Right. Now, if you want to drive down the border and buy 10 for 13 a piece, and you risk taking them back over, but so we let it be known that I had some cartel. Of course, they knew I had cartel contacts, and we started introducing those. Some cameo undercovers came.
Him coming into the makeup thing every day and really like screaming and bothering the shit out of everybody. You see Judd Hirsch's face in the documentary, like, that's plenty. We're good. Yeah. I get it. You have to get into your mode or whatever, but like, come on.
Apparently he would go nutty if he fucked a scene up and like smash things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that was not his personality when he was talking out of his ass cheeks. You know what I mean? Or when he was doing Vanilla Ice in Living Color. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's that personality shift where you become a guy who's kind of like rude to interviewers and stuff like that. Like, it's strange.
Well, I think when you're trying to get into a character, there's like a thing that some of these guys do where they are just that guy the whole time. Like who was it that played Lincoln?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Yeah. So when Daniel Day-Lewis was playing Lincoln, he was apparently Lincoln.
Yeah, they said all day.
All day long, all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're playing Andy
You shouldn't let him eat. You
Kaufman-
shouldn't let him eat modern foods. Then that's catering.
Right.
Here's your mutton, Mr. Lincoln.
Right, you got to go full old school. Shit in a hole in the ground, sir.
We're having Chilean sea bass. You, a bowl of gruel.
Some deer jerky. Yeah, like, and no toothbrushes.
Yeah.
We haven't figured out toothbrushes yet. When do they figure out toothbrushes? That's a good question. Like, when did people start brushing their nasty fucking teeth?
Oh,
Imagine
that's
what
something-
breath smelled like in like the 1500s.
My producer brings it up all the time. 'Cause he watches a lot of like period piece shows like that, and even like the
Like Peaky Blinders. What are
like
their
those old
assholes
shows. They
smell
always
like?
they always have like attractive people in these like the Deadwood times.
Right.
Like Deadwood, and then the girl, you know, she'll like lift her skirt up, and you're like, God, I bet it smells like a fucking murky dungeon down there. And then when she bathes, and then there's no shower, so they have to just bathe in it and just hope that whatever's in there washes to the surface.
What did people smell like back then?
That's what I mean. It's like prostitutes. Stuff you go. It's like, what's the best they could do?
By the way, they probably smelled better than the people living in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
The people living in the cities were all just using public outhouses. The cities were filled with shit from horses. It's like, oh.
Coming home and kissing your wife at the end of the day is just
Yeah, you're tracking shit everywhere. And so is your dog, and so are your cats. Everyone's tracking shit all over your house, all over your tables. There's shit everywhere.
yeah, just wooden floors with dirt all over them.
Shit, and just little scabs of shit everywhere. There's just shit everywhere you go, and everyone has smallpox.
That's why, no one can. And if your husband died, you have to marry his brother.
That's why anybody talking about the good old days, shut your stupid mouth. This is the good old days.
For basic hygiene.
Yeah, books and medicine and shit. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, I wish I lived back in the 1600s when I died if I broke my ankle.
No, but if I could have picked, again, it's so hard because like moving backwards, you're like, well, I would take all the technology of now, of course.
Well, you can't go anywhere. Then you can't make it like a hybrid deal.
No, it's not a hybrid deal. But if I was saying, if I have to just let go of that, it seems like what the most fun time would have been to be like a teenager in 20s, 70s, I think.
Well,
Just listen to Ambrosia. Fucking, you could wear a silk shirt unironically.
we were all real confused.
If you were chubby, no one even cared. Chubby guys got pussy in the 70s if you had a beard.
Did they?
As long as you had a beard and some long
And
hair.
you knew how to get cocaine.
Yeah, and if you knew how to get cocaine. I grow a long pinky nail so people wouldn't know my house was the party spot.
Yeah, that used to be a thing. You see a guy with a long pinky. That long pinky nail was like, oh, that guy parties. That was like when there was a bad guy in the movie had a long
A
pinky.
long pinky nail,
Yeah.
which is so gross.
That's so disgusting. You think what that's how bad people want cocaine. They'll snort it off some dude's stinky fucking fingernail.
Oh yeah, I did a gig opening for Bobby Slayton years ago at the West Palm Improv, the old West Palm Improv. And
That was a great room.
the guy, the wide, shallow one. And I forget the name, it was Joey something was the guy who hosted. But he was like local legend, this guy. And he brought us back to his house. He took us to the strip club, and it was like everyone knew him kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then brought girls back to his house. And I am always impressed with the level of like a person who carries their morbid obesity with like a not give a shit, and also have no care that the girls are gonna suck his dick or fuck him because he's got coke. You know what I mean? Like, I'm bad at the like fuck me for something thing, and like, but this guy, we went back to his house. I mean, his underwear and like a robe open. You know what I mean? With all these girls around, just giving him coke and shit. It was wild. But he had a cabana in the back of his house. But the most interesting thing about him that I found out was the next day he wanted to take me somewhere to eat. So he picked me up, and he was a narcoleptic. And every time there was a red light, he'd fall asleep and snore. Not just fall asleep, snore.
And he's driving?
Yeah, and you have to acknowledge it. You gotta go like, hey, man.
God. Oh my God.
Hey, you okay? And you just never acknowledge it. You go, yeah, I'm good. And you just go. And as soon as we hit a red light, like loud, aggressive snoring.
Now, is
The
he an
second he fell
actual
asleep.
narcoleptic, or does he have severe sleep apnea? Because if he's a big fat guy, he's probably never rested.
Eyes closed, head goes from the shoulder.
Out cold instantly.
Instantly.
What is narcolepsy from? Like, do like healthy people have narcolepsy? Like, is there any athletes that have narcolepsy?
They said Ron Jeremy was the person who had it. And
He's another guy who's big and fat.
yeah,
That's the
when
thing,
he
I'm
one time,
wondering.
he was at the came to the cellar one time with that Dennis Hoff guy, which, yeah, that was a guy of the people, like, quote-unquote celebrities who would come in that I could never pay, like, homage to and have, like, the thing was, I didn't want to meet with, like, a Dennis Hoff.
The
I don't know why.
pimp of the bunny house.
Yeah, I don't know why it was so celebrated. I know it's like it's legal, but, like, I still don't see his personality as kind of skeevy as shit.
Well, there was a weird time where, for whatever reason, they were kind of celebrating pimps and prostitutes. Like, do you remember Pimps Up, Hose Down?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a famous
Mr. White
documentary.
Folks.
Mr. White Folks, yeah.
He was the best. Yeah, I watched all those.
But they were, like, celebrated. Like, people liked, and then there was American Pimp. Remember that film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It was weird.
it was, well, that was like the small window of, like, pro-sexuality and go be whores, girls, and then it immediately became Me Too.
But
That's
it was
what,
weird.
that happened
It was
immediately.
weird, though, because it was the exploiters of those women. It wasn't like it's okay to be a prostitute. It's cool to be the man who exploits all these women and gets them to go be prostitutes for him.
I think it took 20-some years for people to realize that Joe Francis was a terrible guy. You know what I mean? He was celebrated as hell. I just heard a Howard Stern clip the other day where he had Joe Francis on. I'm sure if you asked him about Joe Francis now, he'd be like, what a terrible piece of shit. But when Girls Gone Wild was a thing, everyone was just like, who cares how it gets done?
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Like Girls Gone Wild. That's how, when the internet wasn't around, you could buy tapes of drunk girls at the bar flashing their boobs. And
Yeah.
you'd pay for it.
Yep.
You'd pay for it.
Yeah.
And it had like a production value.
Oh, now you'd pay for it, and then you were part of a subscription service that,
Is that what it was?
yeah, and then every month it would be like Girls Gone Wild, Girls on Campus 2, and Girls Covered in Bubbles.
Was it one of those things where they trick you into subscribing?
Yeah. It's Columbia House. Like,
Columbia House for titties.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, I've ruined, Columbia House and me have ruined the credit of all my pets in my life.
Did they get in your credit? Columbia House got in your
No,
credit?
I'm saying you send the penny and you put
Right.
your cat's name down, and then they just send you 10 CDs.
But it doesn't ever really.
What was the
affect your
checks and
credit, right?
balances on
None.
that?
I always thought that was a fluff-up scheme for the record business, where they could say they sold more records than they did.
That's possible. That's actually not a bad move.
Kind of a good move if you want to get a gold record or a platinum record. Sell as many as you can.
Give you 10 CDs. When it went up to $1, send $1 is where it stopped. I think
Enough,
it's where it maxed
guys.
out. But
I'm
$1.
willing to give you a penny.
Yeah, to me, $1 really was like, no, I just usually tape a penny to a postcard. But what a concept, too.
It's
Tape
the-
penny here, it said.
It was the dumbest concept ever. You give them one penny, and if you give them one penny, they give you a bunch of CDs, and you're supposed to
10.
give them money. You're like, what? You get to pick them.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You pick your first 10.
AC/DC.
It was my before I had porn magazines readily available to go into a bathroom or anywhere where there was a bathroom where I felt I could quietly look at porn magazines. It was the TV guide. Take the TV guide in the bathroom, do the crossword puzzle, and then pick my 10 CDs for a
Yeah.
penny. Because it was always an insert on the TV guide.
That's right.
It was the postcard.
Yep.
Tape penny here.
And you send it in, and all of a sudden you get cassette tapes are in the mail. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It was so great.
But isn't it a smart move on their part? Because it probably introduced people to a lot of music. Because if you think about it, you're only listening to the radio. The radio is only playing what they play, and they can only play so many songs, right? And if it's a hit, they're going to play that hit over and over again. You can hear this, there's Rolling Stones, there's the Led Zeppelin. You don't have a lot of time for other music.
No.
So this is a good way, even if you're giving it away to people, which mostly are. Like what percentage, let's find this out. What percentage of people actually paid for their Columbia record and tapes?
I think adults would definitely end up paying for it because I think the deal was you're giving them your address.
Right.
So whatever the fake name you put down, they're billing.
I don't remember them chasing me at all.
I didn't feel it, but they have. But what they would do though is send you more. They would send you I'd get like a CD every month that I wasn't picking.
It reached its peak in '94. It accounted for 15.1% of all CD sales.
Yeah.
It had 10 million members.
Yeah.
You became a member of a club. That was kind of what was happening.
Right. What percentage of people paid them?
Well, I mean, it doesn't say it on here.
But if you think about just that, that's almost like more radio, right?
Yep.
You're putting the song on the radio for free. You're sending out these cassettes, even if people don't pay, that music's getting out there. They're going to maybe buy another Rolling Stones record or tickets to see the Rolling Stones.
Well,
But people didn't complain about being part of Columbia House, I don't think. But it's like, remember when, I was like Metallica getting furious about like LimeWire and Napster and those things. But it's like, it is sort of the same thing. Like, you're sacrificing,
But it wasn't for
they
them.
came from a time, though, where the money was from the recording, not touring.
but it wasn't taking away from the money of the recording because you couldn't, like it wasn't that many people doing it. When it became something you could just download onto your computer, that got weird.
Sure.
And then record sales dropped off a cliff. So they were right in the, but
Oh,
they
no,
were
no, for
wrong
sure.
that you can stop it. Like you couldn't stop it.
Right.
Once, like they were trying to like put fingers into a broken dam. There's no way. Like you got to get the fuck out of the way. Like you can't. Once it's on the internet, when things are on the internet, you can't say it's stealing to download it to your fans. You can't do anything. You just got to realize, oh, the world just changed.
The people that stand off for a while too. Like, was it Maynard? Did not want to go on Apple Music or Spotify or anything forever.
I think Garth Brooks didn't either, right?
Kid Rock didn't for a long time, and then a lot of them would try to go and like, I'm going to do my own Apple Music. No one's like, no one gives a
Jay-Z
shit.
did that, right?
Yeah, Tidal.
Did that work?
I don't. It's interesting. When I talked to Kevin Hart in Montreal some years back, and he was buying up things for the LOL network that he was starting, which was like, I guess, an internet network. And they made all this news because when he did the pitch show where they were pitching ideas for his network, he apparently in the room bought like 4 or 5 of them. And when I saw him that night, I was like, "Are these five shows you saw today? They're like definite shows?" And he was like, "No, but it gets you press." You know what I mean? He was telling me kind of like the whole thing of it. He goes, "But the idea of he was saying he was doing with that," I'm like, "Are you going to run a network now?" And he was like, "No, you want to build it until it becomes competitive, and then another company comes along and goes, could we give you money just to go away?" Is the idea, So it's like the idea is that he wants like Netflix to buy LOL or something like that. So it's just
Probably a
building
good business move, but I don't. Do you
No,
think like
absolute,
that?
but I
Do you
think-
think like that?
No, I have no business acumen whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a weird business acumen to have.
But I'm
That's
also,
interesting, but probably effective.
I'm, blown away by, I watch you when you talk to Bert sometimes about that, about his like employment of so many people.
Yeah.
And everything, like, which is great. He's got a great thing over there, but like production company, I feel like when you get a lot of money sometimes, which is impressive that you haven't done this, it's like you want to do almost like too much, like, well, now I'm a producer of things. Mm-hmm. And now it's like this, or other businesses that you want to like start that are like outside of comedy. Like, is that what your thing was always? Like, it was never mine, like to be like a business owner or anything, or some kind of like, where I was like, to have products or something.
I think
don't
what
even do
happens
merch.
is once guys realize the amount of money that they can make, they want to just make more.
Sure.
And it just becomes a numbers thing. You see it, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm making this much money. But if I did this, then I make even more.
But I'd rather give a friend like some capital to like do their special than over. You know what I mean? Unless I was taking a job in it, like, oh, I'm going to direct this and see if I can do that. Mm-hmm. But just like the idea of like taking in like. I have to take a meeting for a sketch show that wants to be on my network today. I'm like, I don't know. I have no interest in
you only
doing
have
that.
so much bandwidth.
Sure.
And this is what I think people fail to think about. Like you require time to do everything. Your time is limited. Like you really have to think. If you, I could fit it in. I could do this. I could do that. Sure you can. But then there's no you time at all, and then you're running on fumes. And when there's no you time and you're running on fumes, you're not the best version of yourself.
No.
So you got to know like where you're at. You got to know where you're at, like in terms of like your sanity. Like if you're working all the time, 5 different jobs constantly, and you're never home, you sleep till fucking 7 in the morning, and then you're up gone all day and fucking going. You don't have alone time. If you don't have alone time, you don't even know how you feel about things.
We also get used to odd things. Like my alone time, I look at it as like the hotel, like the hotel room, just watching the bullshit that I want to watch on YouTube and doing it like that. It is strange when I think I want to be like off and like stationary for a while. Like I feel like there's like a day here and there where it's like morning till night. I just have nothing I have to do. It's rare. When it happens that day, I tend to not be in a great mood.
Really?
I don't know why.
Well, it's because what you do you love, and it's fun. That's the thing. Like if you're doing something all day long and it's just like business stuff and it's just for money and it's not something you love, that's a different vibe, right? That's like a hustle vibe. I'm gonna get these numbers up and get this going, and I'm a worker and I'm gonna grinder. I'm gonna show you because look, I got this now and then I got that now. See, I'm grinding. But as if it's a virtue. I always try to say this is a very important thing that people need to hear. just because it's hard to do doesn't mean it's good to do. There's a lot of things that are hard to do that you don't necessarily want to do. I don't want to climb Mount Everest. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean it's good to do. It might be good to do for you because you need to prove to yourself you can do this extremely difficult thing. But people are dead. There's a bunch of dead bodies up there. That's not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
To me, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff like that in life. And just because you can do things, I'll show everybody that I work harder than everybody else. Like, maybe you shouldn't.
Sure.
Like, you need balance. You need balance in this life. And that's hard to get when you start making money. The big fear is, what if it all goes away?
100%.
And you start clutching. You start having famine instincts. You're like, yeah, oh my God, what if it all goes away? So then you start doing things that you think will ensure that it doesn't go away.
Well, it's that feeling, you feel like you're running a scam.
Yes.
Because also it's something, especially with stand-up, putting a price on things is so strange when you're like, well, I've done it for more than anything, I've done it for free.
Yeah.
Then, second most, I've done it for pennies. You know what I mean? So it's like the same. It's interesting to be like, well, I've done the same job for $50 that I've done for $100,000. You know what I mean? Like it's strange. Like it's a strange place to be in. So,
but it's because
and you do feel like, well, what's it going to take until I'm back to like, you know, hey, you want to come do $100? I still get affected, and it's just young comics be young comics. I don't mind it, but like, as long as I've been doing it, I know they just want you to come do their show, but they're like, hey man, I do it Tuesdays at the stand at 6 p.m. Like, Levy can throw you $100 and stuff like that. And you're like, why do you think I'm going to come? It's like, and why are you naming the money? Like, it's like, if you just asked me to do the show, I'd be less hurt if you were like, I got $100 for you too. Like, great. Like, that feels weird.
They're kids.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And when you're a kid, $100 is real, so it's real to him.
Oh shit.
And
things
so,
I've done for $100.
Yeah. So it's like real money. It's like, oh, $100 gig in town? Great.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't know any better yet.
No, for sure. And like I said, I'm not insulted they want you on the show. That's great. It's just the idea that you're like, $100 isn't going to sell me, dude. Like, don't say that.
Well, I think he's just letting you know he'll give you something. It's
Sure.
like, oh, great. I'll go down there.
No, I'd say I never write back. Like, I mean, that would be. I'm not like that with young comics though at all. I'm so bad at like, it's my.
So he was really, especially Joe Dog, they wanted to get a pipeline. They wanted to get an introduction to the cartel so they could get quality dope, you know, and have a very successful business. So I'm in there with him, and I'm ready to go to blows if we have to. And he starts talking to me, and he says, you know, Scott, he said, what had happened, what I was going to tell you, is that the call went up to the top. And the top to us meant Milwaukee Jack was the national president. And this makes a hard argument for when they say, it's not an organization, you do your own stuff, we only DM each other, nobody knows each other's business. Well, then how did it go to the top of the Outlaws who said, has this guy ever really been checked? And they go back and say, well, we've done like 6 to 8 jobs with him and we're not in bracelets, meaning handcuffs. And he said, I don't care, check them. So now, that's when I get stripped in the basement. I learned that, and this is what Clothesline tells me. And you gotta remember, my mindset is, screw this guy, I'm ready to go to blows. I'm not gonna look like a bitch. And he says, man, I know I was born to be an outlaw. I'm either gonna die young or die in jail. He said, and these are my brothers. He said, but I really don't have a lot of friends. And he said, ones that I know would take a bullet for me and I'd take a bullet for them. And that's when I start looking at his face and I'm going, oh shit, don't you say it, man. Don't you say it. And he says, and you're one of those people. So now I'm like, ugh. And he says, the reason he didn't show up is because he felt so bad for what he had to do to me in the basement that night. He got so obliterated that night, he was passed out through the whole drug deal the next day. So that night when I called my wife, she says hello, and my first words are, or she's like, how's it going? How did it go? My first words are, I am a dick. I go, I am such a dick. This guy loves me. He cares about me. Now, that's the real side. That's the human side. Now, there might be, you know, we don't train that way. We tell you, look, that's not you, but I'm still human. I'm out there. I'm surprised we haven't said this yet. A lot of times, if I'm speaking or teaching or whatever, I'll put up there, what does undercover mean? So I'll ask you, what do you think undercover is?
You're pretending.
Okay, you're pretending.
infiltrate an organization, pretend to be one of them.
I get that a lot. I get lying. We hear acting. You're a character. Here is the definition of undercover. You are building relationships that you're going to betray. And that sucks. If you look at it that way,
Especially if you genuinely have something in common with these guys.
Right.
And you actually like their company.
now don't get me wrong, if you haven't done anything illegal, well then no, I'm really not. I mean, I guess I'm still betraying you because you thought I was somebody else, but we're not arresting you. I've done undercovers like that. Those happen all the time. You're in there for 5 months and you're like, there's nothing federal here. And then they're within their constitutional rights. And you just bail. But you have to, you are basically building and betraying relationships, especially if you're gathering evidence of criminal activity. And you need to know how you're going to deal with that, rationalize that in your mind so it doesn't have an adverse impact on your psyche. And that's tough, you know? I'll fast forward you a little bit. I crashed on that case for a 3-year period. I've been going nonstop, and I'm not saying I'm tough. I met my threshold. I think your threshold changes every day, just like your comfort zone. Some days I take off jogging at 54 years old. Sometimes I take off running, and I go, it's going to be a damn good day. I feel light, fluffy, floating on the clouds. Some days I take off running, and I go, how long have I been running? 2 minutes. Damn. It's going to be a long day, you know. So your comfort zone changes. I think your threshold changes, but I go into great detail in the book. But for 3 years, I had been doing too much. Well, I say doing too much, but even when I moved to Tennessee, I did too much again. I just learned how to balance it better. I'm a workaholic. I love working. I love doing it all. SWAT call-outs, running tactical schools here, case agent first, building cases, putting bad people in jail, undercover. But I had stopped taking days off because I didn't want to give management a reason to tell me I couldn't go do an undercover. I'd just work through the weekend or be undercover through the weekend, come back, type up all my stuff, then run my cases. Teaching all the tactics in firearms for McAllen and Brownsville agents, resident agents, which is just satellite offices out of San Antonio, on SWAT, running firearms for them, stuff like that. And I just stopped taking care of myself. So we get to a point to where, like I said, in great detail in the book, but just picture this. I already gave you a little bit of a blurb on the undercover school, right? 2 weeks, no days off. Let's just say I'm there for 10 days. Well, once we put you to bed, we're probably going to hang out and drink a little bit because you're my peer, and it's also therapy. And I have it made. It's good to know that you're not on an island by yourself, that there are other people doing the same thing you are. And there's a lot of bonding that goes on there. But that means for 10 days, I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep. And I've probably got too much alcohol in my system, if we're being transparent. But then I leave straight from that undercover school, and I go right into an undercover. And let's just say I land in Sturgis, which I did, and the Hells Angels shoot 5 outlaws at point blank range my first day there. Like, I hadn't even been in town like an hour. Now, there's 2 old ladies, 2 patch members, and a probate, but they're all shot. They confirmed it was the Hells Angels. We're talking paralyzed from the waist down for life. We're talking shot, crushed clavicles. I mean, not just like a zinger. And now you're back doing that for days on end. And when I would get home, I would stop taking care of myself. I got to the point to where I was a walking zombie. I was on antihistamines, decongestants, inhalers. I was taking hydroxycuts like crazy. I was making the strongest coffee I could possibly make. And I'd drink a pot of coffee and fall asleep. So what I learned through the book process, even though I'd learned a lot already, I found out from my wife I was a ghost, man. I'd come home from SWAT, work, undercover, whatever. I'd be on the couch and my daughters would be on my lap. I'd help put them to bed. But my wife couldn't even ask me a simple question about the bills. You know, hey, there's this bill, I got it. Do whatever you got. I can't think. I just need to. And she wanted to do everything she could to support me and just let me veg and not put anything on my plate. So we get to the end of the outlaw case, and I'm starting to crash. Didn't know it. If you are a certified undercover and you are active in the FBI, you mandatorily have to be psychologically assessed twice a year. That whole thing is called Safeguard. I'm not outing anything. It's out there. It's on the internet. but the safeguard process was created by Joe Pistone down in Nebraska. It was created by Joe and a former agent who his background was a clinical psychologist, Steve Band. And they came up with this because Joe, you got to remember when Joe was undercover, there was no Attorney General guidelines. There probably wasn't even an operational procedure manual for undercovers. It was like, here's money, here's your recorders, go make a case. He was one of the first 25 undercovers in the FBI in 1972. That happened right after Hoover left. Hoover did not believe in the undercover technique, but as soon as he was out, they started working undercover. But the safeguard process goes like you take a bunch of psychological tests, and then you're going to sit down, you're going to take a break, it's going to put a bunch of numbers into some charts, you're going to sit down with a clinical psychologist. They may be an agent for the FBI, or they may be contracted in. They're going to go over all that stuff with you. They're going to dive deep into your psyche, try to. And then after that, you're going to sit down with somebody like a Pistone or an experienced undercover, because you know the old saying, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Well, we use undercover, UC, as a verb. You can't UC a UC. So I remember going to take one of the tests as an open-ended sentence. You have to fill in the blanks. So I'm on my way to Daytona at a world run with the Outlaws, still rolling heavy in the case. And I stopped off at an undisclosed location to do the assessment. And I remember, like the open-ended sentence might be, men are, and you got to finish it. I'd always say men. Women are. I put women. They'd be like, what do you mean? I go, you know what I mean. I'm not opening that can of worms. I'm like, man, no, we're different. How's that? But there was one that said, the last time I relaxed, and I couldn't think of anything. Wow. Nothing. And that's not me BSing. I'm like sitting there at the table going, well, I work out all the time. I'm like, but that's not relaxing. It's not like I'm namaste and listen to Yanni and shit. I'm like, I'm trying to throw 45s across the gym, you know? But I'm like, So I just made up a story. Even at that moment, I thought, man, that's really screwed up. Wow. But I was like, yeah, ain't a big deal. And again, way more detail in the book. But the thing that happened to me was, I ended up out and out partying with Outlaws and Mongos all night. I wake up the next morning. I mean, you can hear and feel the whiskey and eggs squishing in your belly. You know that. You know, and I'm like, I just feel disgusted. I'm gonna start working out. So I'm in the hotel room doing before P90 came out, but kind of that thing: burpees, mountain climbers, push-ups, air squats, sit-ups, all this stuff. And I came up, and by the way, this is after I hit the inhaler, took a decongestant, antihistamine, 3 hydroxycuts, 2 cups of coffee. I don't know if there was anything else in there. I later learned that was basically a cocktail for an anxiety attack. I was like, who knew? Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I had an anxiety attack. I was trying to work out. I came up for air, hyperventilated, forgot all about combat breathing, forgot about paper bags. And, but did I stop? Did I say, man, that's really screwed up? No, I took a nap, got up, started drinking Jack Daniels and went back. But when I flew home, I slept wheels up to wheels down till I hit Houston. And then I slept wheels up to wheels down until I got to McAllen. And I think probably the first 2 days, I might have slept close to 20 hours a day. But for the whole week, from like Sunday to Friday, I slept an average of 16 plus hours a day. Wow. And I wasn't depressed. I wasn't sick. I know what they both feel like. I was that damn tired. So by Friday morning, I take a phone call from a former good buddy of mine. He is probably one of the best undercovers I've ever seen. But he was calling me about a possible another biker case. And his first question was, how you doing, country? And I'm like, not too good. And then he let me talk for an hour and convinced myself I needed to call Safeguard. So I called them. They came in and did an on-site assessment. They diagnosed me as overassigned, and they said, you can continue the case on the phone until they take it down. And I stayed on the phone. I made a story up because I'd gotten married, technically. And I told them I was getting a divorce, but I had to relocate my wife and my kids to El Paso, where her family was at. Once that's done, I'm pulling chocks. I'm coming to Massachusetts. We had already created, it was in the creation, our own biker club, that it was approved by the top of the Outlaws to be the #1 support club in the Northeast. And we were going to name it the Righteous Few. Scott Town was going to be the president. I was going to be an officer in it, sergeant at arms. And I never went back up there because they told me I couldn't. When you get put on timeout, it's like, no travel. You can be a case agent. We're going to suggest to your division no travel, definitely no undercover work. There was some confusion there because one of the arguments is you need to get back into being a case agent and remember what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I never stopped being a case agent. I'm running all these damn cases while all this is going on. But I took a time out. I made some phone calls. There was one guy named Tim Sylvia, not the fighter, who is a buddy now, by the way. This guy's name was Tim Sylvia. He had been in prison most of his life. But before I stopped going up there, he was introduced to me. He knew about the cocaine. He knew about what I did. He calls me and says, man, I got some stolen vehicles for you. I'm in the
Look at these biceps, you'll find it pretty
Imagine
easily.
that's all it took.
It's so old, but this is the old Boston Comedy Club in the Village.
Oh, that's funny. That place was great.
Place was, yeah.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks crazy.
Hey, girl. Look what fucking bicep. You think I can meet a girl? Hey. Oh my god. Anyway, before I snap and start throwing stools all over the place, I'm gonna give you thanks and sacrifice.
Ooh. What year is that from? It looks like the 90s.
I found it over 10 years ago.
That looks
It's
like
late
some-
90s, early
An
2000s.
Android phone from
Actually,
the 90s.
no. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was the 2000s because it was called Comedy Village at that point. Still, they changed the name. So it was the early 2000s.
So that's the old Boston Comedy Club? Mm-hmm. Wow. Dude,
Yeah, you
I
see the
was-
mantle and
I was
everything still.
working in that place back when Neil Brennan was a door guy.
Yeah.
I became friends with Neil when he was a door guy. It's hilarious.
Kevin was already rolling. Kevin Brennan.
I don't know. Kevin Brennan he was around then. I think he was already doing stand-up.
Well,
then.
Kevin was the first one
Yeah.
to do stand-up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was definitely way before Neil.
And then Neil, yeah. That place was a great club. That's where the first club I started
what a
at,
great
too.
little club that was.
Barry Katz,
Yeah.
all the clients worked there. Were you a Barry Katz client ever?
No, never.
Steer clear?
I've just been with the same manager since I was an open micer.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Back in Boston.
Well, he found me in Boston. He was a New York guy. That's why I moved to New York.
No shit.
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to go on stage that night. Oh, so lucky, because I would have panicked and I would have choked. I didn't know he was in the room. I had no idea. So he had come. He used to manage Bob Nelson. Remember Bob
Sure.
Nelson? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So Bob Nelson.
That's Philly guy, I believe.
He became very Christian, and he was going to have his Bible partner, his guy, become his manager. He had this guy that they were brothers in Christ.
Oh,
And
jeez.
so Sussman was looking for new clients, and he thought he saw everybody that he could see in New York at the time. And so he had a good friend that was taking a trip to Boston, and so he went with him. And he said, I'm going to set up some shows at some of these comedy clubs. So they had all the local Boston headliners, like big-name guys from the town would all perform for him. And I was driving limos at the time, and while I was driving, I would come up with some of my best ideas sometimes because you didn't listen to the radio, just drive because you couldn't listen to the radio while you had clients.
Yeah.
And so some of my best ideas came from just driving around. I had this fucking idea. I'm like, oh my god, I think this would work. And so I called up my friend who was the manager, and I said, hey dude, do you think I could get a guest spot tonight? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So he hooks me up. I have no idea. I go downstairs. This guy who becomes my manager is walking out of the room to go to another club, which is down the street, and he hears me killing. And so he comes back downstairs, and he watches my whole set. And I would have never done what I did.
How long are you doing comedy at this point?
3 years.
That's fast.
Yeah, 3 years. So, but I was I had some good sex jokes. I had some great jokes that would kill. And I would have never done them if he was in the room. Because everybody had to be clean back then. That was like, you gotta be clean, you gotta be clean.
You had good success in like acting stuff. Was that when you got into it, I know when I got into it, what I thought was interesting was I started to do stand-up comedy. It took me a long time to realize it, and I love broadcasting. I think it scratches the same itch for me. Broadcasting is whatever. I never got into it to act or all these different other things. So, but as soon as you get into it, especially when you have a manager, you just see the industry unfold. You see everyone's like, you don't have a commercial agent? You got to go out and audition for a commercial. And all these things that I was like, supplementary, that I was like, instead of doing that, I'm just going to keep doing the black circuit because I can make some money there. Like, I was getting a couple bucks, enough to survive. on shows and then I'll just go hang out the mainstream rooms, you know, at night and meet all the comics and get on when I can get on. But like, it was never it's never like I would not go so many times to audition. I'm like, I don't fucking.
Yeah, I did a couple
I don't
of
want
those.
it. I don't want it. And I ended up sitting on the show for 2 years, and it was a great experience in hindsight. But like,
What show did you get on?
it's called Z-Rock. It was a IFC show. What was great about it for me was because it was the Curb Your Enthusiasm style writing. So we get to say whatever we wanted, really. And it was cursing, and there was no problems with that.
wow.
So it was a very fun show to do in that regard, but it just wasn't my...
Wasn't your thing?
In fact, when I was doing it, I would still go like 3 of the nights a week. We do 5 shows. Every other night I would still go do a spot at the Cellar, and she was giving me 2 a.m. spots. And I'd have to be on set at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. sometimes. And when they would get like, I would take naps in between like scenes or whatever, and they would be like, why are you going and doing like stand-up so late? I'm like, oh, because this show will not be forever, and there's 50 people waiting to jump in my spot there.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm established there right now, so it's like, when this goes away, that's the thing that's still going to be there.
Yeah.
And so I definitely made sure, as I said, but also I didn't want to really be an actor.
Well, in the
like
90s, it was just a money thing. It was everybody. There was 2 things that everybody wanted. As if you were a comic, you wanted to be the head of a sitcom, or you wanted to host the Tonight Show. Those are the 2 things that everybody wanted. Which is why Jay Leno. People to this day don't understand, like, why did Jay Leno want the Tonight Show so bad? He was like hiding in the closet, and that whole story where they were negotiating.
Yeah.
And they scratched and clawed, and everybody was mad at him because he took it from Conan. Remember that? Because he went back because Conan's ratings weren't as good. All that craziness was the golden carrot at the end of the stick. Everybody so in our minds, everybody wanted to host the Tonight Show, or you wanted to be Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So that was what you got. And so these people came there, and that's all the industry talked about, because that's where all the money was. That's what your agent wanted you to do. That's where all the money was, and everybody was just pushing you in that direction.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It was a push in that direction. It was like but it's an antiquated idea that comes from the time of like everyone in entertainment was like a triple threat. I watched something a while ago that was
like a Jamie Foxx.
But you're right. But even go back to like the Sinatras, and they said Barney Miller, Hal Linden. There's videos of him like singing he went on like talk shows and as a singer.
Wow.
But because everyone had to like dance, you were like a showman.
Right.
There was no like focus in one direction. Yeah.
Like
so
the
the idea that you were like, I came into comedy as a mega fan of stand-up comedy. I loved all of it. I didn't even like draw lines on, there's people I liked more than others, and Dice was my guy for sure when I was 12, 13. I just hit him at the right time.
Yeah.
That I loved that. But I was such a fan of stand-up that when I got into stand-up, I only saw now I didn't know what the path was to selling out comedy clubs or theaters or anything like that. But that's all it was. I didn't get into this, and I was like, oh, and then I'll have a sitcom, and then you just get told right away, like,
well, what
no,
year
that's
did
what
you
you're
come
going for.
along?
You're going.
What year did you come along?
I started in 97.
Okay,
almost
so
90, maybe 98.
That was like the peak of the sitcom days. That was Friends. That was
Right.
That was everything was still on the air back then, right? Seinfeld had what year did Seinfeld end? I want to say that was like 2000. No,
I think it ended-
98.
Yeah, I was gonna say 90s.
98. 98. Yeah. Okay, and then there's Friends, which kept going a little while longer, right? And then there was like Caroline in the City. There was like all these shows that everybody was like, that was the goal. The goal was to get on a show, and everybody wanted and everybody got a network deal. And they were handing out deals where you would get like a couple $100,000. You didn't have to do anything, and they never even made a show, and then you get another deal next year. There was a bunch of guys who were always having deals.
And a lot of those people, when I got into comedy, I'd see those people like chest out at the comic strip.
Oh, yeah,
and stuff.
weird.
But then, never heard of them. I wouldn't name names, but I mean, it was just weird to see people that were like, oh, they just got their second deal with NBC, holding deal, or
yeah. Oh, they were convinced it was going to go. They would tell you, like, I got $1 million backup deal and this and that. And so they have to do my show. It's going to be on the air. You should play my brother.
And then it doesn't. It's such a.
Well, you see people getting really weird and acting like they're special before they're even famous.
Sure.
Like you didn't even get on the launching pad yet, and you're already acting like a fucking crazy person.
But
saw a lot of that.
I've been doing it long enough to see people kind of go and be like, shit, the acting thing seems to be going, and I'm going to go to LA or something in entertainment, like besides stand-up is going, and they focus on that for a couple of years, and then nothing really pans out from it, and they didn't keep doing stand-up.
Right.
And then they come back,
Right.
and it's
And then
like,
they
damn.
try again.
And then they're confused because I've never had my own sitcom, I've never had anything, but like, one thing I never stopped doing was like working the whole time still.
Yeah.
So it's like you're building a fan base still. And when
Right.
a lot of people left at a time where it was like, oh, this is where you have to start, they went to go do acting when everyone was like, all right, it's podcast times now and social media times, and you have to get all these things going. And you connect with the audience and stuff and keep performing. And like they went away and then come back, it's hard to start again.
It's real hard. You saw a lot of guys during the writer's strike try to do it again. Because
Right,
there's
yeah.
a few of those guys that are really good, that are just writers. And they become trapped in that velvet prison of getting that, you make good money, you got a great health plan, you got a nice house, got a mortgage, maybe start having kids, and you're not really a comic anymore. Now
Right.
you're working on a sitcom or you're writing. And the problem is, you don't have a backup plan anymore because you can't just go on the road anymore because you don't have a fucking audience.
Right.
So all those other guys that you came up with that kept their comedy up during that whole time, those guys can still tour. Like Fitzsimmons was very smart about it. Like Fitzsimmons did a lot of writing gigs,
Yeah.
but he never stopped doing stand-up.
He's so fun.
Never stopped doing stand-up, and he always kept getting better. And so, like when writer strikes, things like that happen, Greg's fine. Like
Right.
he sells out all over the country. He doesn't have to worry about it, but it's because he's smart and because he like saw the writing on the wall. Like, I'm not falling into this trap.
Well, it's a matter of what you want to do. When you woke up in the mornings to go do news radio, were you like thrilled going to work every day, or did it
No, news radio was really fun. It was really fun. It was
The
a
cast is great.
It was really fun. It was a real fun like environment. We had a good time. The writers were amazing. It was like perfect best case scenario for a sitcom. And it was the second sitcom I was on. The first one I was on was like worst case scenario. Not worst, but started off great. Like it was on this show called Hardball with Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer was he played one of the rival mascots, and he gets beat up. Jim was so funny. It was so funny. It was a real funny pilot, and it was written by these guys who worked on Married with Children, and they worked on The Simpsons. They were really funny writers, Jeff Martin and Kevin Curran. And these guys put together this really funny show, and then the networks just hacked it up. They just jizzed into the soup. It was a mess. They brought in a bunch of people that shouldn't have been there, and and the show fell apart. But I got to watch like these brilliant, really funny guys get their work just shit all over by the network and have it fall apart and become just a joke.
Could you have been roped into stopping stand-up, not doing stand-up to go in the full-time, like
No.
from sitcom to sitcom?
But one thing that I did do for sure is I neglected my stand-up for a few years. When I was doing news radio all the time, the problem was in news radio in the early days, they were really long hours because we were trying to figure the show out. And, there was a lot of network notes back in those days. And, the network was really behind it, but it wasn't owned by NBC. It was produced by Burlstein Gray. So, if you wanted to be on the good slots, right? So there, what Paul Sims is the creator of news radio, would call it the shit sandwich. So you'd have Friends and Married with Children, and in between you'd have like kind of caca sitcoms. It's
Right.
like a shit sandwich. So we got in those spots occasionally, and every time we did, we were like number 2 in the country, number 3 or something. But then we'd drop down to like number 80 because we got moved like 9 different times over 5 years. 9 times over 5 years. So the show didn't really become successful until it went into syndication.
Nice.
So it was one of those weird things, but I auditioned for 2 shows ever. I auditioned for that Hardball show. I got that. That got canceled, and I auditioned for news radio. That was it.
Really?
It was the nuttiest thing of all time. So I didn't want it. It just happened. So it wasn't something like it was my golden carrot. My golden carrot was just I wanted to be a professional comic.
Right.
And then as I was like barely making money as a professional comic, like barely surviving, all of a sudden they're like, we'll pay you $25,000 a week. I was like, what do I have to do? Well, I got to act? Okay, now I'm acting. And I would have moved back to New York 100% if I didn't get an apartment. So I signed a 1-year lease on this apartment in North Hollywood. And so I was staying. I was like, I got to stay. Because I wanted to just go back to New York and play pool and hang out with my friends. I didn't like it in LA. It wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't like being around actors. And it was hard to make friends with some of the comedians, the Comedy Store was weird back then. So it was like, I was ready to go back to New York, and I had this fucking lease. So I was like, I can't break the lease. I don't have that kind of money. I've got to keep this lease going. So I stayed there, and then I got news radio, like right afterwards.
Which is great.
It was crazy.
That's a whirlwind for sure. It is funny though. It's like just that lead of that, like that you're supposed to do. Like, to me, it was sitting for whatever the 10th time, and watching, especially actors, like walking back and forth, like how serious they're taking getting there, and I'm just like holding the sides barely, and I'm like, it's like 3 lines we gotta say, like relax. And I didn't book stuff, but it's also just like, as I'm sitting there, like I don't know if I want to be the Trident cinnamon gum guy.
Mitch Hedberg used
I
to
don't know
have
if
a
I
bit about
care.
it.
I just don't like. It's like if you get it, it's almost like fantastic. Like that's great, but
If you get it, it's extra money.
sure.
But then once you get all the extra money, you don't have to really do that anymore. And that's when you got to decide. Like, what do you like? One of the things that I had to decide after I did Fear Factor, I was like, okay, no more of that, please.
Yeah.
And I did it one more time. I did it one more time when in 2011, Fear Factor came back for a brief amount of time, and that's when they made people drink jizz. And that's when it got canceled forever. Until Ludacris came back and did it on MTV.
No jizz. That was
No.
then the no jizz rules.
They
in
toned it
effect.
down back then. But it was just like there's a different thing that's happening when you're doing something just for money. You're just like, okay, it's worth it. It's worth it for this amount of money, and then you got to know what to do with that money. Like,
But I used
you
to
gotta
have to-
plan your escape.
I used to have to like talk myself into like when I would get those weird like talking head shows. I think on History Channel we did like they were trying to do like a spoof of I love the 80s and I love the 90s.
Right.
They would do like I love the 1880s or I love the 1890s or whatever. And they would give us like history stories and write jokes and you're gonna do talking head things. And I would look at it as the burden of that next day.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta wake up at 8 to go into the city and like to do this thing that's never. I look at all the stuff and I'm like, it's network, it's History Channel, so it's like I can't really do exactly what it is I do. And then because I'm gonna go as close as I can to my own voice, that like it's probably not gonna get a lot of stuff on anyway.
Yeah.
But I had to really convince myself, like there was a kid across the street from me when I lived in South Jersey for a couple years who was in a Fruit Loops commercial. I said, and he said he might as well have been Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? Like to me, I was like, he's been on television, and I'm like, I'm going to do a TV show tomorrow, History Channel, anything. If you told me when I was 12, 13 years old that, hey, you want to do a TV show, be on TV on the History Channel, you'd be like, no, TV, is that possible? So you have to remember that it is pretty like extraordinary to have some of these opportunities. But man, so I try to take them in when I have them. I was in the movie Hustlers as the strip club DJ.
What is Hustlers?
It's the true story of the girls at Scores who were like the strippers that were robbing the guys.
Oh, really? When did that movie come out?
A couple years back now, but maybe like 6, 7 years ago. But I was the strip club DJ in that, and like I really had to go there because I look at in hindsight of it, it's like it was 2 14-hour days of like nothing, so much nothing going on.
Right, you're just
waiting around.
Yeah.
And just whiffing when I had these opportunities, but I'm also trying to take in. I'm like, holy shit, that's Usher over there. That's fucking J-Lo. It's like as I'm sitting here, like, when do you guys need me again? It's like J-Lo's in a thong, like twerking on stage, like doing her scene, and you're like, oh, I should really enjoy some of it. You know what I mean?
J-Lo was on stage twerking?
Yeah, I introduced her
What
big
year
dance.
was this?
2018 maybe. Yeah, my voice opens this scene.
Damn, is that really J-Lo?
Yeah. It's
So this is her
really her.
10 years
50,
ago?
50 years old.
Not then, she wasn't.
Yep, she was
No.
50 on set, yeah.
Wait a minute, how old is she now? You said this was
shit.
2000 what? 2000 when?
2000, like 19, 18?
Was she really 50 back then?
Yeah,
God, 6 years ago. She's not 56. is she?
2019.
Okay, how old is J-Lo?
She's 56, I guess now.
No. Is she really? Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Bro, what is she doing?
I don't know, but she looked fantastic.
That
And it
is
really shined a light on
crazy
this girl's narrow Asian ass. Really shined a light on that. It almost, when they were choreographing them together on stage, it looked so shitty.
That's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she looks great.
that's incredible. Good for her.
She seemed nice. I tried to talk to her once and I whiffed hard.
Did you
I just,
get panic?
I planned.
You thought you could be number 6?
I planned what I was going to say. That's what the problem was.
Wait, oh, you did?
Yeah.
How bad?
It was bad. I said next time she turns around, because she seems nice, she's going to like, at some point, she's going to talk to me. We're doing this one scene together where she hands me money. And I say like a line. And every time they yell cut, she put her robe on, turn around, talk to her assistant. But I'm like, she does seem nice. And she's going to turn around and ask me some version of how you doing.
Right.
And I'm going to say, I'm just living the life of a fake strip club DJ. And that's going to make her giggle, and then we're best friends for life. And instead of waiting for her to say anything, the next time her eyes just crossed my eyes. I went, living the life of fake strip club DJ, like followed her face. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, oh. And then her assistant started laughing at me. And then I demanded to go outside to get a soda. They were like, we'll get you a soda. I'm like, please let me go outside and reset this moment. I hate this.
Yeah, you can't have a diva roll her eyes at you. That'll fuck your confidence up. No matter who you are.
No.
Right? Jennifer Lopez rolls her eyes at you. That's
It
an
hurts
issue.
so much.
How does she look so good?
I don't know, but she
Crazy.
really did.
It's pretty extraordinary.
It's that thing, it's a person that's in a room and you're like, oh, a celebrity's here. They give that off.
Right, but it's like, think of her beauty and then that other lady that you said that did a bunch of shit to her face. Probably the same age, right?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. You know what's also in that movie, by the way? A young, only one song out, Lizzo. And everyone was so excited for her. And I didn't know who she was. And they were talking about the celebrities that are going to be there today. And she's playing a stripper. And I was like, I'm wondering who it is. And then, hours later, my next question was, I'm like, who's the big fat stripper wearing the fishnet outfit? And they're like, that's Lizzo. Yeah, like, that's Lizzo. I was like, Christ almighty, what? Are they making her do that? And again, it's my own fat insecurity that I put out on other people. Almost like I said that guy earlier who was like the robe open.
There's got to be guys that
I'm
want to see
impressed.
that.
I'm impressed with that because what I have is much more, which I always found interesting. Chris Farley, his most famous thing ever is the Chippendales sketch,
Right.
with Patrick Swayze. I've always thought, and I just know this from I'm good friends with his brother, and from years of reading stuff about it. Like that's, if you want to trickle back what killed him, it's essentially that. Do you know what I mean? It's like he was willing to do it, like I'll be the fat, gross guy, but he hated it. He didn't want everyone to think he was like fat and gross. So it's like I have a hard time with those kind of things. So I'm impressed also with someone who's like, ladies, with like their fucking fat rolls on their sides. Welcome to the party. Like,
Well, it's-
how do you do it, man? And Lizzo just like, fuck it, I'm wearing a thong. You don't have to.
It's one of those things where it's like you want to celebrate people that don't care. Like, yeah, you go. But also, yikes.
Yeah.
It's also yikes.
It's always lies too, by the way. She's lost 100 pounds.
Well, also, remember when she was accused of fat shaming all the girls that she worked with and making hookers eat?
Yeah, making me stripper pussy and shit.
Yeah, whatever was going down, whatever she was accused of, I don't know if it was real. But it's like the Chris Farley thing. I never would have imagined that he hated doing that.
Oh yeah, no, he loved making people laugh, but he hated that it was at the expense. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. They said that, but it never seemed like that stuff did bother him. I think he wanted girls to like him. He wanted, you know what I mean. So that's why he got big into drugs.
Are you basing this on conversations that you've had with people that know him, or what?
Conversations that I've watched so much stuff like on him. Yeah, and you could see like they. Again, it's people reading into stuff and sure, but I think also from talking to his brother and stuff.
I met
real
him
conversations.
I met him once when he was in the throes of it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a couple of people that I met where their skin looked like wet cardboard. Like it was the consistency of wet, like gray cardboard.
Yeah.
Like sweaty gray cardboard. So he was on the set, hanging out. There was always like a lot of fun people that were on the set that you got to meet. And he wasn't working on the show. He was just there to hang out. And so I ran into him like during the craft service table area, and he was just looked terrible. And I don't know, like, what year did he die?
Late 90s also.
So this was around 97-ish, somewhere around then.
Yeah, I think
So
that was
News Radio
98.
was 94 to 99. That's when he died. So it might have been the year he died.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
he looked like hell. He looked like he was just so sweaty and so gray. He just looked fucked up.
one other time, there was a dude that I ran into at the Improv, and he couldn't form sentences. He had like the same gray skin, and he was talking to me, but nothing made sense. But he just kept talking, and he couldn't form sentences. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It's also weird to get into that and then still be around comedy.
Just be around public.
Like,
you're
yeah, like-
you're hanging around with people at a bar, and you're so gacked up you can't even form a sentence.
I have a hard time with the. I mean, I can. So I can get caught up in like the dramatic conversation of like the science of comedy and like all the internal things and the manipulation of it. But at the end of the day, it's so silly when like it's taken so seriously in some way too. It's like it's not like, you know, unlike Daniel Day-Lewis who has to be Lincoln all day, someone can go, Jay, they're calling your name on stage, and you can go up there. I don't have to like find my place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm not even. You know, oh, hang on. Okay. You know, you just go on stage and be like, shit, I didn't know they were calling me. Sorry, everybody.
But also, you're doing sets multiple times a night. You're doing multiple sets a week. You're so comfortable with being on stage. It's not like action.
If you're extreme right, I know you're an idiot because I've been with them. I'm like, I just want to bring it. What's so funny is you start here and you go far left and they're like, I'm a socialist. I want everything for free. I want it. And you start here on the far right and they're like, I want Hitler, but that's socialism. You get here, it's the same shit. They just want stuff for free. I want all whites. Well, that'll fix everything. You know, it's insane. But down on the border, you tell people, you're like, man, I'm not trying to shed a bad light on Mexico and stuff, but a lot of it runs on corruption. A lot of it runs on money. And they do not value life like we do. I mean, man, they chop heads off. It's Al-Qaeda stuff. I mean, they're sawing heads off. You find a van full of 8 heads. We worked kidnappings and extortions down there all the time back then. I mean, one of the cases, OZL, we thought it was a wives' tale, and this is sick. So I apologize to people that think this is way gross, but it's real. The first one isn't that gross. He had a line. He would feed people to him. A line, and that was the rumor. And then I can't remember if they went up in a fixed wing or a helicopter, but they flew over the line. And somebody was asking the other one, hey, what are all those bones? And they were like, El pollo, chicken. That's a big-ass chicken. That chicken looks like a femur, So there's that. But the one that was really sick is, so when they would kidnap you, like if you lost a load or they thought you stole something or you didn't pay your quotas, because even as a undocumented special interest alien, whatever you want to call it, illegal alien smuggler, you had to pay quotas to the cartel to smuggle through their territory. Same thing with Doug. If you got behind on that, they kidnap you. Same MO. 3 Suburbans pull up somewhere in South Texas, jump out on such and such corner. Everybody's in black BDUs. They grab you. That was the safest. They were the enforcement cartel. They'd take you over, beat you, start calling the family saying, we want $100,000, $300,000, whatever. We'd start brokering the deal because we have border liaison officers, and we would do cross trainings with military and police in Mexico. So the border liaison officer calls and goes, hey, it's such and such time of day on this corner. 3 Suburbans pulled up. The guy's name is this. There's this time of day. 30 minutes to an hour later, we get a call back. They got him. What's the deal? He brought a load back and it was missing $100,000. Okay. So now I'm in the house with the family going, okay, they want $300,000. Well, we don't have it. Well, they don't have it. They want $100,000. We don't have it. Well, what do you got? We got $60,000. What else they got? Remember my V8 4x4? They got a Suburban. How many miles are on it? And here we are at midnight, rolling the Suburban over the bridge with $60,000 to get the sun back. So one of we thought was a wives' tale, is that OZL had I don't know what the politically correct term is these days, but a midget, a small person. I don't know. But the rumor was back then that he had a midget who was very well endowed, and he would rape people for the cartel. You just let that soak in for a little bit. My comedy starts coming out. I'm like, I didn't get this small person. I don't know.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Like, so we all thought it was BS. And then there was a Christmas Eve. We started getting calls. I was actually driving to Arizona for a vacation, but I was on the phone calling sources and calling all the other agents. This guy had basically carjacked a car in Rio Grande City. So directly across the river is Camargo. So he gets in there. He didn't look at the back seat as an infant. Now the cartel's pissed at him for bringing heat, and they are beating him. And I mean, they used to hit him with the clubs, throw kilos, bricks at him, cigarette burns, cigar burns real big, battery cables, stuff like that, threatening him. And we got him back. But when he came across the bridge, my peers called me and go, "Holy shit, Scott, it's real." I go, "What are you talking about?" He said, "This dude is balling." When the call came in and the cartel was like, "Okay, let this one go," the midget was in the room. That guy was crying when he came back across the bridge. He was getting ready to get raped.
Wow.
Slightly sick, right?
Yeah, slightly.
It's a different world.
Yeah, that's probably the least bad thing that you do.
I don't know. I don't know how I look in the mirror after all that.
I don't know. Get out of the line like that.
It's insane.
Or do you? So, other than the pedophile cases, what were the most like shocking cases that you had to do?
Well, they're all a little shocking in their own way.
The pedophile one's got to be the hardest one to like sleep at night.
Yeah, but what
Just
a
to
good
know.
But what a good feeling to get it.
Right. That's
You
a
know?
different feeling. That's a non-conflicted feeling when you get him.
Good. Yeah, when she called me, when the assistant solicitor called me and said, "Hey, he pled guilty. He got 20 for, I can't remember which was for which, but he got 20 years for, I believe, molestation and 10 for hiring and killing." So, and then they had to do state of Texas with 85%. So yeah, it's going to be a tough ride for him. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so crazy stuff, man. I mean, some of that neo-Nazi stuff was just insane.
How'd you get involved in that?
Well, number one, I go where my skill set takes me. Number two, we kind of go to what the shift is in the FBI. Were people doing a lot of biker club stuff anymore? Not at that time. I was a criminal investigator for pretty much my entire career. But towards the end, in Tennessee, I switched over to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And I really did it because it was just, I was having some disagreements. Some would be lightly, but I was having disagreements with management. And my MO had always been, even though I'd burned myself out before, once I got to Tennessee, I set up accountability buddies, I set up tripwires, and stopped saying yes to everything, and made ways to relax and balance and get myself back. But towards the end, I switched over to Joint Terrorism Task Force because, again, my MO was try to be above average on your squad. And then if you're kicking butt on stats and stuff like that, then maybe they won't say no to let me go to the undercover. Maybe they won't say no to let me go help put on this SWAT school or this SWAT call out. And that was what I did. But that wasn't working for me in Tennessee anymore. And I went to the head of the division and requested to be moved. So I went to Joint Terrorism Task Force, and my skill set kind of led right into that domestic terrorism stuff, because it was like in the state of Tennessee, you have Aryan Nations, which was the Tennessee Department of Corrections, TDOC prison gang, but it's white supremacy. So as a case agent, I started working that stuff. And then I just started getting more exposed to those kind of cases. So now when the canvases start coming up, or we're running an undercover op ourselves, those cases are coming in, and it's like, okay, I'll do that one, unless anybody's got a disagreement, you know, and that's what I started doing. That's how we kind of got into those, because we started getting more threats, you know, after the Charlottesville stuff. Now it's really getting kind of on the radar. They're like, man, maybe we should be putting more resources. Maybe we should be putting, the FBI is saying, maybe we should be putting more resources to this domestic terrorism threat. And that's what I started getting. I mean, I would go into, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but a neo-Nazi group, but it's mainly online. And here I am for 5 months reading post after post. And if I woke up after 6 hours of sleep and I was 1,500 posts behind, I'd rewind it and read them all for 5 months, because I didn't want to miss anything, me personally. I didn't want to miss anything or anything bad happen because I missed something. But after 5 months and maybe meeting them once or twice, it's all First Amendment protected. They weren't doing anything to prepare for the violence, to cause violence. They're just preparing for the day, and then when the day happens, then they'll be ready. But again, I talk to people overseas, Canada, whatever. I have to explain. I'm like, look, in the United States, we have a Constitution, and your First Amendment is freedom of speech. So you can walk out in the street right here and say, I hate every, say a racial slur. I hope every racial slur dies. That's not illegal. As you know, you've seen it. You can burn American flag.
That's a girl. It means nothing to me.
They didn't see it.
Also, maybe if they announced it was a girl out of the gates, I might not say anything either. Just two chicks going at it. I'm like, look at these two wild motherfuckers.
Right, you just thought it was crazy that it was a dude doing that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Isn't that funny? That's weird. It's weird how we look at that.
Oh, yeah. But I said you get wrapped up in a thing and you're like, you're transphobic. That has nothing to do with any of this.
It's a problem because that label you just slap on someone when you're talking about like male athletes that identify as women competing in girl sports. Like, that's not transphobic. That's just,
Yeah.
we're talking about something crazy.
Can I be trans weirdic? Is that a term? Just be like, or it's like, I think that's weird that that there's a 6'7" woman beating up an actual woman in a ring.
There was some lady who was just arguing that there's no biological difference between men and women. I'm gonna send you this, Jamie, because it's so kooky. You're like, come
Doctor
on.
Who.
You can't really think that this is true. This is,
No biological difference?
there's no difference between men and women's strength. Pennsylvania state senator said there's no biological advantage for men in women's sports or disadvantage for women in men's sports. This is,
That's a woman?
a woman said this. This is so crazy. I just sent it to you, Jamie. It's so kooky. You're like, come on. Look, I know you want to believe this, but if you're going to be on TV saying things, it has to make some kind of fucking sense.
Female bodies are just as strong, as fast and capable as male bodies. I want all girls to know that there are elected officials like me who would never underestimate your ability to beat a boy at their own sport. Because that's what the premise of this bill assumes, that female bodies are less than male bodies. For what reason, other than political gain, are we spending time and taxpayer dollars on a completely made-up issue? Female bodies are just as strong.
That's so crazy
One
to
guy
say.
heard her.
Well, she just got caught up in the woke bullshit. She lives in an echo chamber, probably. All the people around her are all either in academia or in some sort of left-wing fucking ideology, and they really believe that. And they believe that you should say that. Because if you're not saying that, you're saying women are less than men. That's not what anybody's saying. Strength and speed and athleticism is not all of life.
Well, you made the point. There's men that are less than men in
Yeah.
different areas.
Yeah.
Of course.
They're called coders. They're out there. Like, they're incels. They're online. They're making apps. There's a lot of different roles for people in this life. It doesn't make you a man just because you can run faster than everybody else. But to say that men can't run faster than women is just, you're denying statistics and science and all the information that we have gathered forever. We have so much data. High school 15-year-old boys beat the women's soccer team, the professional team. So shut the fuck up. This is stupid to say. This is stupid to say. It's not transphobic, homophobic. It's not genderphobic. It's not misogynistic. It's just a fact of physical nature.
But also, if you hit the pinnacle, the fight's over. Do you know what I mean? If you just go like women's sports is highly attended, it's given the same amount of TV time as
Right.
men's sport, and everything. It's like, yeah, not enough.
Not really.
Like now,
No.
I want to be in men's sports
Well,
also.
that's the craziest one, when the WNBA players won as much money as the NBA players. So the NBA actually generates extreme amounts of revenue. If somebody wrote a joke about it, the WNBA wanted what their just pay was, and so they owe $400 million, because that's really how it balances out. It's like a losing. It's never been profitable.
Do you know what those things? But like it's like you're helping the one to hurt the many in so many things too. It's just like that video. Shane showed me this years ago. The blind kid playing football. It's like a little boy playing Pop Warner football, and he's blind. And I'm like, who's this for? Like, it's like
Where's your dad?
it's like,
Why is he letting you do that?
who is this for?
Is it Daredevil?
And the kid gives a speech. In the video, he gives a speech, and he goes, a lot of people say blind people can't play football. And you're like, yeah, everybody. And you've never seen this video? No. This is maybe my favorite video on the internet. You have blind football, Jamie, if you could. It's a 30-second video. The song they picked for this is the greatest thing in the world.
So here's the thing about like the WNBA. If you love the WNBA, that's great. There's a certain amount of people that love the WNBA. It's great that women have an avenue for professional sports, but you only get paid as much as people are willing to go to see you. And if they're not willing to go see you, I'm sorry.
Because they want to see dunks.
This kid's blind.
It's that kind of confidence that continues to amaze people who watch Dylan play.
Oh, this is so crazy. Oh, this is so crazy.
See, and a lot of people think that a blind person can't play football.
But this courageous youngster has proven those people wrong.
I mean, you can't play football by smell. That's impossible. But it's again, it's like what you're actually doing is making this game not fun for anybody else out there.
Right. You can't hit the blind kid.
No one's going to hit the blind kid, and if you do, you're a dick.
You're just running around, so you have one less player, for real.
Well, yeah.
It's just like your team has decided to be on a handicap so you can get on the news.
We used to play basketball on a story every Wednesday, and Nate Bargatze one time brought his friend Nick Novicki, who's a little person, comedian, and he brought him, and we were like, oh, he's going to play? Like, all right, I guess. And we let him play, and every time he'd get the ball, the defense would lay off him and let him shoot, and he'd make it or miss it, but it was what it was. And then he started, when everyone would lay off on defense, instead of shooting the ball, he'd try to like run in and like do a layup, and we're letting him. And it's like until eventually Nate Bargatze, of all people, goes over and just cleaned his shot right into like the projects. He just in a way, he's like, we can't just let this happen the whole time. It really becomes not fun for everybody. It was when I was a kid, I remember very few stories, but there was a handful of like the girl that fought to get on the men's football team.
Yeah.
Football's such a violent sport that to let girls play it, they have to put them in lingerie. The lingerie football league is the only visible women playing
still
football
around?
sport. I don't know, but I wanted to start taking like bets on it.
That was a thing, right? At one point in time.
Oh yeah, and they
What
hit
about
hard. They hit
roller
hard.
derby?
Never saw roller derby live.
Roller derby's
There's
like-
also buns in basketball where they have morbidly obese black chicks wear thongs and play basketball.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
But roller derby's like
Let's
more
buy a team.
like a really hardcore lesbian type activity, right?
oh yeah.
I would imagine.
I would assume, yeah.
Like really
Get to bang into chicks.
hardcore dyke bar girls with fucking weird tattoos.
And there's like some element of wrestling to it also. It's like not fully real.
Very aggressive. You know, they slam into each other. They get fucking crazy.
With lingerie football, if you look up lingerie football's biggest hits, it's nuts what
Not
they've done.
lingerie, but I saw that they made a deal for something to air on ESPN2 this year. This is like a women's tackle football league.
Oh, really?
Championship game from last
Wait a
year.
minute, these are chicks?
Yeah.
Come on.
Go back.
Well,
that was a
one-
hell of a play.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's nuts.
34-yard pass. Caught it.
What?
Oh my god. That's crazy. Dude, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
This looks better than WNBA. Maybe they found it. Maybe women's tackle football is what's up. Because you're going to see a lot of tackles,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, I don't know if they get jacked up like they do in the NFL or anything. But
Well, they have to. They're running into each other.
Well, here's what's funny about this. These hits are pretty good, but they're wearing actual football pads. Lingerie football's biggest hits are they're wearing shoulder. Yeah, they're wearing shoulder pads and lingerie. They look like the fucking like the Legion of Doom. They fucking used to come out. Yeah,
This is it?
dude, they wail each other.
Did they really?
I
Oh
mean,
my
it's
God.
crazy.
Well,
And titties never come out.
That's great. They must have the thing strapped down. That's ouch, ouch.
I'm telling you, these pileups are crazy.
How
And
much staph infection is coming out of these fucking things? I'm seeing a lot of staph. I'm seeing a lot of staph happen in the future. These ladies.
I mean, they blast each other into the
You're gonna
sides.
get scratched up bad. You're gonna get staph for sure. Whoa!
But I will
right
say,
up the butt.
the
This
fact
is-
you get 22 girls on a field who are not fighting the idea of like, oh, so we just got to dress like sluts to play football. They just go, yeah, we're dressed like sluts to play football.
Fuck it.
Why are they shamed? And buns and if you find buns in basketball,
the same
we should
kind
buy
of
a
deal?
franchise, dude. I'll go halvesies with you.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. There's a couple of BBLs in
Actually, see if you could find the buns in basketball leg break. There's a girl who fucking, she has
don't
a
show
Paul
me.
George like fucking leg break because she's just fat and she just falls under the weight of her dribbling.
there. How bad is it?
It's pretty gnarly. It's not the worst I've ever seen. It's not Tom Segura's arm bad, but it's close. That was bad.
So bad. Whatever.
It's because when he pulls it back and it's flopped. It's the Anderson Silva retracting the flopped leg. You know,
his arm still is fucked.
Tom's?
It's still not 100%.
Oh, I'd have to assume.
Grip is still fucked up. He had a bunch of nerve surgeries and shit.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
Dude,
And
imagine
imagine if anyone's playing defense.
just going for a layup.
Oh yeah,
Just
here
pops.
we go.
Oh no.
Whoop, dip. Whoop, dip. Oh!
Oh, God! It just snaps.
For buns and basketball of all things.
Oh, it just snapped. Oh, my God.
Hey, I can tell it's going to rain tomorrow. How do you know that? Old buns and basketball injury.
Bro, those are bad injuries. The femur's a real bad one because you got to get blood flow to it. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't fully heal.
Yeah,
I know a couple people with broken femurs.
that's the most painful one.
Yeah, I know a dude, Frank Mir. He was UFC.
Oh, yeah,
heavyweight
sure.
champion. He got hit by a car when he was on his motorcycle. And he got thrown through the air, and he was a giant fucking dude.
He came back too.
It took a long time for he was like really back. You know, like it took well over a year and a half, 2 years before he was really performing at the same level. I mean, you'd have to ask him.
Then he came out and fought Brock, right? He was right away.
Yep, he fought Brock. He knee barred him. Yeah, that was all after the accident. Yeah.
UFC really has straightened out your belief in other people from other sports, saying like, I can come do mixed martial arts.
Very few could ever pull it off, but Brock pulled it off.
I mean, the funniest one for me was, again, just that blind belief I had in Kimbo Slice. I don't know why I didn't think that Roy Nelson would just hold him on the ground and mush his face until a referee was like, hey, leave him alone. That's crazy.
Well, Kimbo...
He's a tough motherfucker,
yeah,
obviously.
If
I mean,
he was fighting just stand-up only, he's very dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
he was involved in... Like, if bare-knuckle boxing was around back then, he would have been a huge star of bare-knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
He would have fucked a lot of people up bare-knuckle boxing. But once you add in the wrestling, and Kimbo had a bunch of knee injuries from football, and, you know, you can't really grapple at full capacity with knee injuries and learn grappling at 35 or however old he was.
yeah.
But dude, kudos to that guy for having the courage to actually just get into the UFC Ultimate Fighter. That's crazy. With
Oh, yeah.
very little grappling against Roy Nelson was a jiu-jitsu black belt, Renzo Gracie black belt. Like Roy Nelson's fucking legit on the ground.
He was great.
You
Big
don't know how to-
country. He was so fun.
He was so heavy too. He was big old belly. He
When he
knows how to
wear-
hold people down.
And he would shout out Burger. He'd go to Burger King after the
Yeah.
fights and stuff.
He also could fucking punch, dude. That guy could punch. He had some of the craziest one-punch knockouts ever.
What is that? Does that career amount to like? Is he sitting on money now, like a guy like that, or is he
I
like?
don't know. I haven't talked to Roy in forever. I don't know. He wound up fighting for a bunch of different organizations. You know, when he left the UFC. I think he fought for Bellator. But dude, that guy has some crazy highlight. He knocked out Shaw one shot. He knocked out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He knocked out a lot of people, dude. He'd connect on people. They would go night. It
Yeah.
was nuts, man. He
So
knocked
funny
out
with
Mitrione.
Brendan-
He knocked out a lot of fucking big, tough dudes.
When anybody comes at Schaub, I'm always like, it's not even the wins he's had, more than I'm like, this guy's not afraid of you. like he's been punched by like the best, and like I promise you, whatever you think he thinks you could do to him, it's not as bad as that.
He's been beaten up by world champions, and he's knocked out world champions. He knocked out Mirko Krokop, which was crazy. Like Mirko Krokop
Yeah.
back in the day was the fucking man.
Sure.
He was like the
Like a
first
robot.
elite kickboxer to really excel in MMA. He was the first guy to show all these other strikers that you don't even know what you're talking about. When he started fighting in Pride, it was like, this is another level. He would kick people in the body, and you would see, like, there's a photo of him kicking Keith Herrig, and his fucking shin is halfway into his rib cage. It's so nasty when you look at the photo of it. You just go, the amount of power that guy could generate in his kicks. Like, there was nobody like that beforehand in kickboxing, or in MMA, rather.
I felt so bad. That first UFC coming back during quarantine was so important to everybody. I don't know if it was the first one or the second one that came out, but that was when I was like, man, you got to really pick your timing and when you're going to shout out what you're dedicating a fight to. There's that poor guy, like he lost his stepdaughter, and then he came out like wearing the shirt of the stepdaughter who passed away, and it was all dedicated to her. I mean, you can see as Alistair Overeem beat him into submission with punches.
Yeah.
The referee was even kind of going like, come on, man, please try to fight back. I said at the end, Alistair Overeem should have been like, "It's okay, everybody. I was also fighting for his stepdaughter." Like, yay!
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, but to shout that out, like,
It's tough.
before, yeah,
It's
it's
a lot of
crazy.
weight on you too.
Those are great YouTube compilations. The cocky fighter comes in the ring to lose.
Oh, there's always like the guy pushes the guy at the weigh-ins and starts shit at the weigh-ins and gets knocked unconscious.
There was a guy came in the UFC cage. I forget who it was, but the way he entered the ring, like, he did a thing where he hung on the outside of the cage and like swung into the ring and did some crazy like move, and then just it was like an immediate knockout. It was like a 30-seconder.
Well, it's like you planning to talk to J-Lo. You just gotta let things happen.
Just gotta let things happen.
You can't plan. You can't plan
gotta let
things
things
out.
happen.
The inauthenticity of your planning will come to haunt you.
Yeah. Also, the shit you talk through life is also in broadcasting. As you start to get guests, sort of starts to haunt you. It's like the thing like Howard Stern had to make a gazillion apologies. I assume by the time the guest he got on, 'cause we've done it, and we fucked up so bad. We came in one day, we saw Brett Michaels in the Fishbowl when me and Soda were doing the show still.
The fishbowl? What's the fishbowl?
Of Sirius XM, it's like there's a studio that you could see into right in the front there where they'll do performances and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And we were up in the in the Fishbowl one time. We saw Brett Michaels, and we came in talking to somebody, and then we go on air, and almost like for the bit, we're like, how do we never get offered these guys? There's always like celebrities here, and they weren't even brought to us as we can get them. It's so fucking crazy. And I go, right now as we speak, Brett Michaels is out there, and then we said something about like his bandana being attached to his hair, and I think Soder said like they lower his bandana and hair onto him like Darth Vader. He just sits there, and they lower it on. And then they come back and they go, he said he's willing to come in. So
Oh no!
then he comes in, and he's lovely. This guy was making future promises with us of what stuff he wants to do with us and hang out and come be a part of his summer festival and broadcast from there because he loves us so much. But his manager was listening the whole time, and he said as soon as he left the studio, they went, "Those guys are not your friends." And you're like, shit.
Fuck. Shit. He's got to understand. They didn't know you.
That's what it is.
Now they know you. They're talking shit. It's
Corey Feldman
natural.
hates my guts, and it's like,
What'd you do?
well, I've never nonstop talking about him. Yeah. We've never
About his
stopped
dancing?
going. Oh, yeah.
You hate on his dancing?
Yeah.
Maybe it's getting better.
We're not even hating on it at all. I love it. I wanted to do nothing different. And I wish he tried to have us not allowed at his show when he opened for Limp Bizkit.
Not allowed.
Yeah, and this head of security was a fan. He came over to me and Bobby Kelly, and he was like, yeah, he was asking if you guys were coming. I said yes. Then he asked if he could know where you were. Then he asked if we could not let you in, and I was like, well, they're not doing anything. They're not threatening you or anything. They're coming to watch a show. And he was like, well, can I at least know where they're sitting at? And he goes, it'll be wherever the most excited people are. And son of a bitch, were we. I mean, we were a sprout of grass on a dirt field of people. I mean, we were the only ones. We were hyped. I know all the words. He's the best. But that was the genius of Howard Stern that I fucked up. When I started getting into broadcasting, I broadcasted always like it was going to be me talking to a friend or friends, shooting the shit.
Right.
Not that you're going to come across these people. So I would have played more. What Howard Stern was always great at is like take the lunatic, but he's always going to be like, no, you're great, dude, you're the best, and let the world make the joke.
Right.
And instead, like I go at it, but I was like, man, I would have loved to just have Corey Feldman come in bi-monthly to do, hey, you got a new song? Play it, dude. I'll bite my fucking finger while Poor Corey.
The thing about Corey that really does bother me, like legitimately.
We were so happy.
Oh, this is him? Let me hear this.
Note to self, bring your own knife next time. So I did. But we're doing Halloween. We're there, and I doze off. We've already done hand-to-hand combat, some firearm stuff. Had a couple of drinks, and I'm charging my phone in my truck. It's really cold, so I kind of doze off. I wake up to pounding on my window. Bell horse, you got to get up. You got to see this. You got to see this. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, man, remember us talking about a sacrifice and the goat? I'm like, yeah. They go, we got the goat. So I get out, and there's this ram in the back of one of the members' trucks. They had gone not far away to a house that had 3 rams, and they all dressed up. And I'll paint the picture for you because the clothing, the camouflage pattern that the base wore was fleck tarn, because fleck tarn pattern is German. Again, Heil Hitler kind of stuff. So they went where balaclavas cover everything up. They hop fences, steal this ram, and bring it back to the farm in Rome, Georgia. So I wake up and I walk out there, and this thing's crapping all over the bed of the truck. And one of the members, pretty big fella, he says, "Man, this thing's shitting everywhere." And I said, "Well, hell, I would be too if I just got kidnapped by a bunch of dudes and fleck-tarn and balaclavas, you know." So now we're kind of preparing, and I'm thinking, man, we're really going to do this. And I walked over to the guy. He went by Eisen, and he was going to be leading the block. And Eisen says, I go up to him, and I go, "Man, is it bad that I feel sorry for the goat?" And he says, "You can't let the goat hear you say that." And I'm like, "Okay, do tell." And he's like, he goes, "This is a sacrifice to Odin. This is a beautiful sacrifice. We love this ram. We love this goat, whatever the hell it is. We love it, and we're showing it love, and it is being blessed to go to Valhalla and meet Odin." So the rule was, everybody leave your weapons, and we're going to go down to the holy spot and deep in the woods. 100-acre farm, by the way. And we're walking down there, and the goat's just making all kinds of racket. And we get down, I'm sorry, let me rewind just a little bit. I'm trying to figure out in my head, should I do this, or should I just blow the case right now? And I'm thinking, well, they said they took the goat. Okay, so that's theft of an animal. That's not federal. I'm like trying to go through my head. So I go to my truck, and I lean into one of my devices, and I'm like, "Hey, if y'all can hear me, because when I was out in the field, I'm covered." So for that 4-day hate camp, they were covering me 24/7, running shifts, they being law enforcement. And I go and I go, "Hey, if y'all can hear me, I'm pretty sure we're getting ready to go down here and sacrifice this animal." And I'm running it through my brain, and I know they said they stole it, but I can't come up with a good enough reason to stop this right now. If you guys don't want me to do this, you got to send me a sign and let me know. And I waited, and I waited, and it was crickets. And then I said, "Okay, I guess I'm going down to the woods." So we go down there. You had your chance. I was waiting.
Oh my God.
So we go down to the woods, and we get there, and I don't know how. I ended up at the back of the goat. We're in a circle around the goat, and I'm at the back of it. And Eisen, who's leading the block, is talking about we're going to be starting the wild hunt. In Norse mythology, the wild hunt is basically Odin and a bunch of other gods going out in the middle of the night and whipping the crap out of every other god that they didn't like or whatever. In the twisted version of the base, starting the wild hunt was going to start with the sacrifice of this goat, which he named Gar. His middle name was Garfield, named after his grandfather. To show love to the goat, he named it Gar, after his grandfather. Okay. So he says once we do the sacrifice and it goes to Valhalla, that the wild hunt will start, but the wild hunt was going to be cleansing the world of non-whites.
So the goat was the start of this whole
Wild hunt. The wild hunt. It's in Norse mythology. It's called the wild hunt. But again, they're twisting it.
Right,
White
right.
supremacy beliefs. So he's got this like machete type object, and I'm at the back of the goat, and he's going through it. He does his Odin prayer. He didn't lead the block near as good as the actual Asatru priest that did it before, but he's trying, and he's going back with this. He's going back with this machete, and I'm holding the back of the goat. Somebody's holding the front of the goat. He's coming down. He's practicing, and he's a pretty stocky kid. And finally, somebody says, "Just do it." Man, he rears back with all of his strength. He comes down, whack, right on the back of the neck of the goat. I don't even know if it broke a hair, Joe. I don't know if it's because the back strap of the goat was so thick or the blade was dull, but when he hit it, all you heard was bah. And for that split second, I'm holding the back of the goat, and I go, "Oh man, I just saw blood. I just pictured something bad happening." And then somebody says, "Has anybody got a gun? Do you hear? Do it again. Do it again." And I take 2 swings, and you see, "I got a gun." Well, I told you we weren't supposed to bring any weapons in. Well, this one cat, who was probably the least qualified person to be carrying a firearm anywhere within miles of us, said, "Yeah, I got mine." And we were like, "What are you doing with your gun?" So TMB takes the gun, hands it to Eisen. Eisen, we're still all on our knees in a circle around the goat for this sacrifice. Eisen points the gun at the goat's head, and then turns the opposite way.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's when the instructor in me comes out. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's like, what? I go, look at what you're shooting at, man. We're all in a circle. What the hell are you doing? So then he chambers around and gets up close. Pow! Even on the recording, you can hear the goat hit the ground. Cool. Well, I was sitting there twitching. It's been like 2-3 minutes. It's still twitching. And I'm like, hey, why don't you go put another bullet in the ram? He's like, oh, I think it's dead. And I go, I'm just saying, for the love of the goat and it being happy in Valhalla, let's give it a good clean kill. Trying to use his logic.
Yeah.
And he puts another one in it, and then somebody says, yeah, it's definitely dead. So you think it's over. No, it's not over. Now they slice the goat's throat and fill a cup with all of its blood. And one of the guys had brought a sheet of acid. Isaac had brought a sheet of acid.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right? It's supposed to help with the shaman, which is kind of entering the spirit world during your block. You're going to get high. And I'm shining the light because it's pitch dark. We're in the middle of the woods. And I'm shining the light for Eisen. He's going around, and what's happening is he's tearing off a tab. Not everybody did it. Of course, I didn't do it. But he tears off a tab, puts it under his tongue. Some people have never even done it before. And then you chase it down with the blood of the goat, part of the sacrifice. So he gets around. Some people do it. Most people do it. A couple of us didn't. And then it gets to me. And I'm looking at the cup full of blood, and by this time, it's coagulating. It's all clotty. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, man, I do not want to turn that up. I really don't want to turn it up. And I think it was Pestilence that gave me an out. He said, man, you can just taste it. So I stuck my finger all the way down in the blood, pulled it out, sucked all the blood off my finger. And that was my way of dealing with the sacrifice. Not exactly fear factor stuff. But I would have been good on that show except for the gross stuff. But yeah, but disgusting. So over the next day of training was completely obliterated because 90% of the members were all still high, been up all night on acid. So we couldn't train the next day, and I was pissed. I told them, this is a wasted freaking day. I said, you sons of, I was giving them a hard time. And then by Saturday, we were back training again. And then by Friday we were training again, and by Saturday night, we did a bunch more training through the day, like, navigating the land, living off the land, building bunkers and stuff like that. And then it's time to shoot some more for the propaganda video. So we go back down in the woods, and now we're doing a bonfire at the holy spot, and we are burning American flags, and we're burning holy Bibles, while everybody's yelling, F your Jewish God, and death to America, stuff like that. And I remember the one kid that was pretty clumsy. He almost fell in the fire trying to light the flag on fire. And in the video, you can see me grab the other side. Part of me wanted to just let him fall. Just see him go. I don't know if he went up in flames or not, but a little Darwinism. But I hold the flag. We burn the American flag. We're screaming all that, and they take holy Bibles, and this is on the video. They lay them face down in the fire, and I watched the fire go up. It's coming back down. We've been there a minute. Hell yeah, high five and white power, all this stuff, and it's coming back down. And if you've ever seen like a book in a fire, all those pages, they get that. It looks a certain way, kind of ashy. Well, the one guy, the Canadian guy, he can't not screw with the fire. He's over there. He's probably still got acid in his system. Who knows? He's still poking the fire like, oh, yeah. So he's stoking it back up. Well, while he's trying to stoke it back up, he flips something over. A Bible opens face up, and there's nothing burned on it at all. Like the outside's charred, but there's not a single page burnt. And I'm like, okay, that's different. So he's trying to get it started. He starts tearing page by page, gets it on fire, bonfire goes back up. We're all doing our thing, bonfire comes back down. He's poking the coals again. I'll be damned if another Bible doesn't flip open, completely unburned. And I watched them put it on that face first. Now, I know some people with science, and they're like, well, in a lot of Bibles, the page is made out of clay and they don't burn. Listen, I watched a flag burn. I watched all that stuff burn. And I actually have a picture that if you blow it up, I didn't realize it. I was just taking pictures like everybody else was taking pictures. But I was in my hotel room one night just going through my pictures, and I blew it up, and you can clearly see a Holy Bible in the flames. So I'm a believer. My faith is huge throughout the book. I would not have been able to do any of it, in my opinion. But I remember when that second Bible flipped open, one of the base members goes, he goes, man, these effing Bibles just won't burn. And I remember I did it very nonchalantly, maybe only in my head, but I did a little Sammy Sosa, to the sky, I'm like, yeah, you get them, Lord. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's funny. By the way, if you want to blow everybody up, y'all just let Scotty know, and I'll be real still right now. But, yeah, so after that week, I kind of said, I got a pretty dumb sense of humor, but I got back to the office, and I said, man, I've been doing undercover work off and on since 1996. And I said, I know my skill set takes me to different places than other people. I said, but I have never had to burn Bibles, burn an American flag, and I damn sure wasn't with a group of people that went out and stole a goat and sacrificed it at a pagan ritual and drank its blood. I said, I've done that in 3 days with these guys. And I mean, I felt weird. I felt weird when I got back. I just, I even texted my pastor. I'm like, I need you to say a prayer. I just felt, I don't know, dirty, something.
Yeah.
Felt weird,
Which is weird that guys like that exist and organize and find other guys like that and get together.
It's online. It's this phone. Listen, a lot of these kids were young. I say kids, because it was the first alias I ever did where I made myself younger. My whole FBI career, I was always 2 years older. It was just easy to remember. I turned 40 with the Outlaws. So when I turned 42 years later in real life, and I'm in wherever I was at, McAllen or Tennessee, I'm like, yeah, my other party was a little better. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, the Outlaws party was, thank you guys for throwing me a party, but it's not really nothing compared to when I turned 42 years ago. But for the base, I had to hustle and get in there fast because we were getting calls from World Working Partners because, again, this is online. You hop in those groups, there's people from South Africa, Australia, UK, Norway, you name it. And they're all, because it's online. Now, they may not be able to get weapons like we got weapons, but they were even planning on flying into the States and doing some hate crime. Well, I'm sure we'd be doing hate crimes, but hate camp. But they dive in, and what I saw a lot of is younger guys, outcasts, don't have a job, can't get a partner, and they just dive down this rabbit hole of hate. They've probably been bullied, and they dive down this rabbit hole of hate. And it seems like it goes back to like gangs and cults and stuff like that. It's that need to belong, and they want to bring you in, and that's how they get you.
Yeah.
And then power, and then being inclusive, having people with your own like mind. But that's not just on the white supremacy side. Same thing's happening on the Islamic, radical Islamist side.
Yeah.
They're radicalizing you online, inundating you with videos. You could go into Gab, I don't even know if Gab's still around, but you could go into Gab and there would be a group called 14 Words. Well, that's the 14 words coined by David Lane. It is famous in the white supremacy culture. It says something to the, if I don't have it memorized anymore. As I say a lot of times when I'm speaking, I go, hey, just so you guys know, I appreciate the questions, but since I retired, I made a conscious decision not to hang out with white supremacists anymore.
Probably a good decision.
I'm just saying. I appreciate you asking me, but
were they the wackiest people that you were around?
It's going to be close.
Well, obviously the pedophiles are the most disturbing.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be close. But I don't want to say I'm not easily shocked. It's just that you see so much stuff. It's like, again, it's that proverbial coroner who shows up eating a sandwich with brains are everywhere because they've seen they got to eat.
Right.
They're just used to it. So there's definitely been some wacky things. On the case agent side, that stuff on the border was pretty wacky. But undercover-wise, these guys, what about calling them wacky? But just they were planted. What we did is we uncovered we uncovered several murder plots. They had found a couple that they believed were an Antifa couple, a couple of counties over, and Georgia, and we went and cased the place. The idea was, it started, it took a while to come to fruition because it changed a couple of times, but essentially what was agreed upon is that we were all going to be the Georgia cell. When I say cell, it's C-E-L-L, which, by the way, it's probably a good time to say, the base in Arabic is Al-Qaeda.
Oh, wow.
So Al-Qaeda wanted to have 3 to 5 man cells, C-E-L-L, I know I got a redneck accent, cells all over the world waiting on that D-Day call. Well, the base, which stands for Al-Qaeda, wanted 3 to 5 man cells all over the world waiting for the boogaloo.
Wow.
You got kids, 21-year-old, has no car, has no job, but has an arsenal in his closet. He's wearing plate carriers with the same plate carriers that FBI SWAT team wears. It's not cheap stuff. And however they're getting their money, either from parents or whatever they're doing, they are building their kit for what they refer to as the day, the set off of the race war. So we uncovered those murder plots. I remember helter skelter, we got to postpone it because once we figured out they were trying to kill people, man, we got to slow this thing down and make sure we've got control of it. Much like a murder for hire. You're hiring me to kill somebody. I want to make sure that I got the contract so you're not out trying to find somebody else to kill this person.
Right.
So we were riding out there, and Helter had not seen the house yet. And Helter, I'll tell you the plan in a second. Helter, we're riding out there, and Helter goes, hey, if you don't mind, man, I'd really like to pop my cherry on this one. Well, you and I here pop my cherry, it probably means something different because I was like, what are you talking about? And then Luke, TMB, told me, he goes, I think he actually wants to participate and kill. And he said, man, I've been waiting for this for 2 years. He goes, I want to put one of the bullets in their head. And I said, well, it's a 22, 25, whatever, with the silencer on it. It may take more than one, shouldn't be a big deal. But the idea was, and this is how much research was done. We're going to go to a campsite. We're going to leave everything electronic there. We're going to leave from there. We're going to have a car that doesn't come back, rental car, whatever, fake plates, whatever. We're going to go to a pay-by-the-hour hotel, or a motel. We're going to go there. We're going to scrub and wash to get any flakes of skin that may be loose to come off. As detailed as Vaseline on your eyebrows, facial hair so you don't drop any kind of DNA. Tape up, kind of like WMD. We're going to tape our jacket to our gloves, our pants to our boots, so nothing can leak out. Luke had even done so much research. He had read that a lot of people who kill somebody for the first time lose control of their bowels. So he was suggesting we all wear Depends while we go commit the murder. I didn't tell him I'd ever killed anybody, but I looked at him and said, I think I'm okay. I don't need to wear Depends. So that was the thing. And then we were going to go into the house, breach our way in, murder whoever's there. Because it was like, are there any kids there? Helter was like, I don't have a problem killing a common kid. Now, Helter kind of looked like a normal guy, had a computer IT job. He said that was a great cover for him because everybody thinks he's just a normal person in society. This is a guy who also told me, he said, again, they want to accelerate down. This guy told me, he said, I voted for Hillary Clinton. And I was like, I'm in here with neo-Nazis. That threw me off guard. I'm like, why would you do that? And he goes, think about it, bro. He said, we want to accelerate